another episode of You'll Only Listen Twice, our podcast where we're taking a look at all the Bond movies, both official and unofficial. I'm Jake.
I'm Troy.
I'm Jan. No bit this time.
Oh, why no bit? Because the movie fucking rocks?
I've run out of bits. I think I've made every single possible joke that I can make about these movies. Maybe Tomorrow Never Dies changes that.
Yeah, well...
The franchise still has a few tricks up its sleeve.
Well, yes. Like we mentioned earlier, today we're talking about Tomorrow Never Dies.
Wait, we did mention that earlier? The episode just started.
Well, we said Tomorrow Never Dies earlier, and so I was just reminding the audience 5 seconds ago of what we said.
Jake, it's like you know what's going to happen before it happens.
Tomorrow's news today.
This is a sham.
I'm no Troy Stradamus, so I don't know.
Troy Stradamus!
Right, Troy, did you relate to this? Oh, I'm producer Paul, by the way. Troy, did you relate to Elliot Carver? Or...
Finally, a megalomaniacal know-it-all gets represented on screen. This was before Big Bang Theory. Truly, Elliot Carver has broken new ground.
Elliot Carver was the Sheldon of the 90s.
He kept saying bazinga.
No, I actually...
Well, did you know?
I was reading the show. I was reading about Tomorrow Never Dies on everyone's favorite website, I think, TV Tropes. And they were like, oh, you think it's far-fetched that a TV network would start a war for ratings? Apparently, in the 1960s, CBS did try to set up a South American coup, and they tried to fund a South American coup.
Well, of course. Was this really considered far-fetched in the 90s? Well, no,
but I just think it's funny, like, the CIA had to step in and go, no, you can't fund coups for ratings.
Only we can.
The CIA is like, have some dignity, man. Now,
what the hell is wrong with you?
What the hell is wrong?
Dude,
we have no interest in seeing World War III unless we start it.
It's very much like the James Bond series where, like, we have a movie that does something horrible and then the next one is like, what is wrong with you? Why would you do that? Anyway, here's that thing again.
You gotta learn to respect women. Oh, she died again. Oh, no.
Well, you know what I relate to in this movie is, like, I feel like a lot of the times, a lot of the works that are, like, I feel like are the central piece that I'm working on end up being mid, and then, like, just, like, a farted afterthought that I do ends up being, like, great. Yeah. And that's how I feel with the opening and end credits of this movie.
Wait, what?
The end credits? Why?
Like, the name scrolling up?
No, the songs.
Oh.
Like, I love both songs, but I do think that the end credits one is better.
Tomorrow never dies.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Well, that's what the composer thought, too.
Yeah, that was the original song that they were going to do. And they were like, no one knows who Katie Lang is. We want Sheryl Crow.
Come on.
Oh, but everyone knew who Garbage was?
I know, exactly.
Yeah, Surrender by Katie Lang should have been the main song. It's good. It's bumpy. Sheryl Crow did her best.
Well, it completely fits the tone of the movie because the tone of the movie is the same thing you've seen before, but cranked up to 11. It's Pierce Brosnan doing, like, the best version of a Roger Moore movie. And you need a song to support that.
No, for sure. This is one of the most dumbass ones, but, like, super well made, which is why I enjoy it.
I guess.
Why don't you kick us in with, like, behind the scenes stuff, if there's any?
Yeah, what's the story?
Oh, this one was a nightmare. Wait, Jake, can I say how the movie got its title?
Sure, you can do that.
Okay. So as people who watch the movie know, Elliot Carver, our villain, publishes a paper called Tomorrow. And its byline was Tomorrow Never Lies. And that was the title of the film, Tomorrow Never Lies.
That would have made so much more sense.
So they faxed the title. They faxed the title to MGM, but the guy who was typing it up did a typo and sent it over as Tomorrow Never Dies. And MGM was like, oh my God, that's the greatest title of all time.
Oh my God, I love this franchise. It's such trash.
Let them change it back.
They're just like, no, we're just going to keep it.
No oversight.
But It's a good title. I like it.
Yeah, I like it. It's evocative.
No, yeah, it's cool. I just think like for me, these titles that are like Tomorrow Never Dies, No Time to
Another
Die,
Day.
Die Another Day. Like whenever it's like a day and time and die kind of title, I'm like, this is not like specific or memorable.
But this started it. This was the original. It begins here.
Well, there's A View to a Kill and The Living Daylights.
Yeah, but that's Fleming. You got wait. What does Living Daylights have to do with dying?
Well, it has day in the title.
Live, die,
Live, die,
day,
yeah.
night.
I don't know, I like the one-word titles. I like GoldenEye and Noctopussy, you know?
Well, the thing is, it's like, yeah, all the titles beforehand came from something that was written by Fleming, because even when you get to License to Kill,
Yeah.
that's something that it comes from the books. GoldenEye is the name of his house in Jamaica. Tomorrow Never Dies is something that Ian Fleming never created.
It's a typo.
It's a typo, exactly.
But don't tell me, like, when you heard the title No Time to Die, there was a part of you that went, oh, that's like a generic
Well,
one.
it sounded like The Rise of Skywalker because it was like, those are words we've already heard.
Exactly.
Die
Exactly.
again tomorrow forever.
And then when we all heard Spectre, we all went, and then we saw the movie and we went, oh, except Troy.
And I went,
Okay, I should get into the backstory of how this made, because there might be a familiar face that crops up in this story.
God damn it, Kevin.
Garfield?
I never said who shows up, but I'll get to it. So
Oh, maybe you're right, Jan. Maybe it is Garfield.
yeah, it might be Garfield. You don't know.
Well, Tomorrow Never Dies.
Okay,
Yeah, so more behind the scenes crap.
yes, more behind the scenes crap. So this one was made relatively quickly. It came out 2 years after GoldenEye, but I think the production was like a year long. It was something like
It was 6 months, apparently. They shot it, I think, in 6 months.
yeah, no, it was like a breakneck speed because MGM just got sold again to Kevorkian, and he really wanted the stock of MGM to boost up. So they're like, we need a Bond movie in 1997 or else MGM will die.
This breakneck speed makes a lot of sense because there's this Pierce Brosnan interview where he's just going like, I remember GoldenEye, and then the rest, I don't know which one's which.
It's just a blur.
Yeah.
I think Pierce Brosnan has specifically said Tomorrow Never Dies is his least favorite because of the making of the film.
I could understand that.
Yeah, that happens.
I mean, the end result is a masterpiece of
Oh, yeah,
like
the
the
end
dumb
result
Bond movies.
Is good, but no one enjoyed making
Well,
it.
that's the thing. It's like usually people say like, oh, the good one's GoldenEye, and then the two middle ones are mid, and
Nope.
then you watch the two middle ones, and they're like, it's like they're not that different from GoldenEye. They're like on the same
yeah.
level of quality.
Right.
For 75% of his tenure, I'm going to make the hot take that every Pierce Brosnan film gets better until it doesn't.
False, but we'll talk
No,
about that.
that's
No,
false.
That remains to be seen.
So the whole thing with the script was that originally the script was going to be about Britain handing Hong Kong back to the Chinese, right?
Yes, but
There's a bit of that, I guess.
there's a bit of that, but like by the time they were going to release it in 1997, that would have been like old news because that's when the handover happened, was in 1997. So they wisely decided not to do this. So
It's really funny how all these James Bond movies try to be topical, and then you watch the movies and it's just stupid shit that's not topical at all.
This one ended up being topical. This one
Yeah.
looped back around.
you could argue that this one is the network of the James
Yes.
Bond.
Yeah,
I would
it's,
agree
it's
with that.
definitely talking about like network and conglomerates taking over the news business.
But was like 24-hour news like new in the late 90s? Like
No, early 80s.
Early 80s, yeah.
82.
Yeah, but I mean, during the mid 90s, it was definitely starting. I mean, it was kind of like the 90s, I feel like were kind of like the post-Reagan sobering years, where
Yeah.
like in Reagan, everyone was high on coke and thinking everything was awesome. And then the 90s is like, wait a minute, this is like horrible. This
Because
is like a
when
nightmare.
when we think of the Bill Clinton administration, we think sober, self-awareness.
Restraint.
Excuse me, I am talking about the UK. Who was?
Oh,
who the
Tony
fuck was the guy
Blair.
after?
Are we already
No,
at Tony-
it was before Tony. John Majors. That was the guy.
Okay.
Wait, are we still at John Majors? I thought Tony Blair was in there by the time of Diana. Because this was the year Diana died.
This was.
Wait, really? So yeah. I mean, John Majors, Tony Blair.
Isn't there a line where someone's, was it Paris Carver? Like, someone's death is going to be faked, and they're like, it's going to be an auto accident. I already know.
Ugh.
And I'm
They
like,
didn't change
"Oh."
that line.
No, they didn't. That's not what he says. He
remember
says.
What
that.
does he say?
Well, like they have the broadcast of the death on the TV, but it turns out to be a video cassette with
Yeah.
Dr. Kaufman, and he's staging a suicide. But then he alludes to, he's like, I'm actually quite good at celebrity deaths. Overdoses is my specialty.
I am especially good at the celebrity overdose.
Oh, I thought he said auto accidents. I
No.
must have hallucinated.
You
Diana.
just hear whatever you want to hear.
Yep, that's the key to enjoying movies, is you make a better movie.
Troy's
Right?
like, and then the guy said, I faked Princess Diana's death. And we're like, no, he doesn't
Yeah.
say.
No, he never said that.
And then the live Princess Diana shows up in the movie.
And she turns out to be the main bad guy.
No, that's next week.
Right?
All right, we got to get to more of the production. We'll go to Bruce Firestein really quick because he was the one who came up with the idea of Elliot Carver. Because I actually, in my Big Black Bond book, he was interested in doing like a movie where the villain was like a big media mogul. But I also found out that he actually like worked at like a 24-hour news station, like big company. I forget which one.
That makes so
but-
much sense. These are my favorite types of Bond villains. Just like crazy, unhinged entrepreneurs that are just giant bitches.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's the thing. It's so funny that James Bond was created by Ian Fleming to like fight against the Soviet Union, but really he's at his best when he's fighting corrupt businessmen obsessed with capitalism.
The movies are always like sympathetic to the Soviet Union. They're anti-big capitalist. Like the movies are based as fuck.
James Bond is woke.
James Bond is woke. Take it to the bank. Take it to the bank.
But he's a decadent agent of a corrupt government, Western government.
Decadent agent of a corrupt Western power.
He's woke and he fucks. He fucks wokely.
Well, that's the thing is that, well, maybe we would get this take out of the way. I told Jake, I'm like, this is the movie you make when you feel like you have cracked James Bond.
Oh,
Yes.
totally.
Like, everybody is happy with this iteration of the character, so
You don't have to add anything.
we just get to think about everything else.
No, that's
Right.
that's why the Pierce tenure is the most consistently good, because they figured out what makes these movies good, and they just made at 3 of those and like a crazy one, but like 3 of those, you know, is exactly what we want to see, and nothing less, nothing more.
Exactly.
I'd be down to have more good movies in this marathon if I'm being honest, but
Well, if there's gonna be what 25 of them, then yeah.
All right. Well, let me get to the interesting part. So we got the Bruce Firestein thing out of the way with how he came up with it. Also, fun fact, he wanted to call Elliot Carver Elliot Harmsway.
oh yes, Elliot
Initially.
Harmsway.
But
Good Bond name, honestly.
the reason why they didn't do it because it was a direct reference to Ian Fleming's wife, Anne.
Wait, she was called Elliot Harmsway?
Well, no, but
She was a multimedia mogul with a
well,
satellite.
Actually, she was married to Cecil Harmsworth, who was the publisher at the Daily Mail.
Oh.
At the same time as she was married to Ian Fleming?
No, this is after.
Oh, after. So his
Okay.
ex-wife, like Paris Carver.
Yes. So you can say that this movie is full of deep Ian Fleming cuts.
Can I say that for how much the movies do not resemble Fleming's work and how problematic Fleming is, it's still kind of charming just how obsessed these movies are with him, that they're like, let's take his ex-wife and let's use that as the inspiration.
For the villain, who was a publisher at the Daily Mail.
Yeah.
Listen, Ian Fleming was not sympathetic enough to the Soviet Union. We must villainize him in these movies.
Well, nowadays.
Okay, here's the fun part. You know who's back?
Garfield.
Yes. No. You want to know who's back, listeners? Do you want to know who's back?
Just fucking tell us.
I want to know who's back.
Is it Kevin?
Kevin McClory.
Yeah! Did he try to remake Thunderball again?
Wrong.
Oh my god.
He tries to make Thunderball again.
That's what I said.
Wrong. He tries to make Thunderball again.
Again after again. He's back, and he announces to Variety in 1996 that he secured an actor and financing looks good. And then from that, he announces that the movie is going to be called Warhead 2000 AD. And it's going to be a remake of Thunderball once again. And he's got an actor and he's got money. And so Garrett Wiggin, the co-vice chairman of Sony, gets in touch with Kevin to start talking about a deal to do with him. And then in between that time, John Calley, who is an MGM executive, he moves on from MGM because I guess he had some deals fall through or he got screwed over by them and joins Sony. Calley worked at Warner Brothers when Never Say Never Again was being made. And so he is part of the deal where Sony agrees to make Warhead 2000 AD, and they announce it 2 months before the release of Tomorrow Never Dies.
We were robbed. And with Sean Connery again?
No. I don't know who the actor was supposed to be.
It would have been amazing if it was Sean Connery again.
Oh, wait, he said he had an actor, but he didn't say who it was?
He didn't say who it was, but some people think that he went to Timothy Dalton.
Because he definitely courted at different times. He courted Dalton and Brosnan, right?
Yeah, he courted Dalton and Brosnan and like Kevin never could get his own James Bond.
First, I thought that this man's addiction to making Thunderball over and over again with like old James Bonds was like hilarious. It's getting to the point where it's like sad. I kind of like
family thought so.
Yeah, I want to sit down with him and just like be like,
well,
man,
he's dead,
buddy, write something else.
It gets even better because so after this, lawsuits are abound. One of the lawsuits Sony files against MGM, saying that MGM has exploited the elements of the cinematic James Bond created by Kevin McClory.
Yes. Yes. That is why he's the king.
So this is kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but this serves as an ending to this episode of Kevin. Sony and MGM reach a settlement in 1999 where Sony decides we're not going to make this movie because Los Angeles court found that the case was on MGM's side.
Bastards.
The settlement that they reached was that Sony would sell MGM the rights to Casino Royale, including the rights to the 1967 Casino Royale.
Yay.
And in return, MGM sold them Spider-Man.
Oh.
Yeah, that's how they got Spider-Man.
And that's how we're cursed with these shit Morbius and Madame Web movies.
Yeah, that's Kevin. That's Kevin McClory. His spirit
Damn
lives
you,
on.
Kevin.
His web connects us all.
Kevin cursed Sony with the same curse that befell him because he had to be developing Thunderball within certain time frames, and Sony could never not be developing a Spider-Man movie after that.
Right.
That's why at the end of Morbius you see the words property of Kevin McClory show up.
And then when I saw Morbius in the theater, and in the front row there was this rotting, smelling man who looked like death. And he's like, that's not mine. I don't want it.
And then there was a fatter corpse next to you that said, this isn't science fiction. This is science fact.
Wait, okay, so on Tomorrow Never Dies, just to add back to what a cluster mess this production was.
They always are. Do we even need to mention?
Because this was really bad. They wrote Elliot Carver with Anthony Hopkins in mind.
Yes.
Would have been cool, but this is better.
No, but they asked Martin Campbell to direct, and he's like, I don't want to do 2 James Bond movies. I'm going to go make Zorro. And then, like, a couple weeks before production starts, Anthony Hopkins goes, I don't want to do James Bond. I want to go do Zorro. So he bails. So Jonathan Pryce is
Everyone
cast.
had Zorro fever in Hollywood.
Everyone had Zorro fever in 98.
They're like, we need to create the next Batman.
With the guy who inspired Batman.
And so the director they turned to is formerly an editor, like many Bond directors are. He edited Straw Dogs, but he's also a noted director in his own right. The director of Turner and Hooch.
Never seen it.
And Stop, or My Mom Will Shoot.
Never seen it.
Roger Spottiswoode.
Roger Spottiswoode.
I mean, I think the not getting Martin Campbell thing was kind of a blessing in disguise, because we had gotten used with James Bond of it being like this factory kind of pumping out movies with the same director and the same crew. And with the John Glenn movies, I was just feeling like I was going crazy. They all felt the same, you know? So I think it's really great for the Barbara Broccoli facelift that we're seeing here, that it's a new director every time and a new take.
I have a hot take. Yes, there's a new director every time in the Brosnan films, but they actually do feel a lot more similar than the John Glenn films. Like, the look is consistent in all four of those films. Oh, with John Glenn, it was wildly all over the place.
I mean, these first two Pierce Brosnan movies do feel very similar, but the John Glenn movies, they're not like radically different in style either.
Yeah.
Like, Octopussy looks nice, and then A View to a Kill looks like garbage, and then Living Daylights looks nice, and then License to
I
Kill
think
looks like a
Pedro put
canon
it
film.
best. Like, John Glenn's style was always the same. What mostly changed was like some of the crew and especially the screenplays and how invested Roger Moore was.
Yeah.
Well, not really the screenplays, because it was still Dick Maybaum and Michael G. Wilson at that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah,
that's
some
the
of
thing.
some of them were awful.
Yeah, so Roger Spottiswoode, he was hated by the cast.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because the script kept changing. Him and the writer were not talking. There's a story that's told where Pierce Brosnan was on the boat, and he said, all right, so in this shot, do I turn left or do I turn right? And Roger Spottiswoode said, we're working on it. And the screenwriter was like writing the scene. Judi Dench was like woken up at 1 a.m. with like, here are your lines for tomorrow. We completely rewrote the scene. Great. And she's like, no. And then she apparently got so mad at one point, she ran into Roger Spottiswoode and she's like, I saw you on the road. And he's like, oh, you did? And she's like, yeah, I almost ran you over, you piece of shit. And then Barbara Broccoli went over to her and said, it's a bad thing you didn't run him over and finish the job for us.
So this was literally like
no.
a Quantum of Solace situation of like laying the tracks right in front of the train, right?
Yeah, apparently Jonathan Pryce said he was going to put a clause in his contract that he'll only make the movie that the script he agreed to work with wanted to make, if that made sense. After this movie, like, it was a mess. Terry Hatcher was cast like 5 days before shooting started.
Oh, yeah, and she was 3 months pregnant.
And she was 3 months pregnant and they didn't know.
Oh, and apparently she showed up late one time, and Pierce Brosnan got really mad at her for being late, but he didn't know that she was pregnant, and so they worked it out. But
Yeah, they worked it out.
Let's talk about the movie.
No, it's good. That's the surprising. Well, it's not surprising. I feel most movies where everyone hates each other, they're either impressively bad or very good.
That's why this podcast is good.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
Often this, I mean, kind of like Spider-Man 2, actually, like the situations where it's like, okay, everyone likes this now, but we need to pump it out quick, just speed run it, don't overthink it, you know. Sometimes that can work
Are you
out.
comparing Tomorrow Never Dies to Spider-Man 3?
2.
All right.
And Die Another Day is Spider-Man 3, obviously.
Oh, yeah, obviously.
well, it's funny because sometimes that could lead to successful results, like Tomorrow Never Dies, or sometimes it could be Quantum of Solace.
Well, that didn't have a script, right? But whatever,
Yeah, I mean, this one, with Quantum of Solace, why that happened was because they were still trying to make like a soulful character study, but they didn't have a fucking screenplay. Here they were just making fun garbage, and they could like do it on a whim, basically.
Yeah. They had the infrastructure in place to make fun garbage. Anyway,
Exactly.
Let's get to the fun garbage, because this movie fucking rocks.
It fucking slaps. It
Yeehaw.
is so much fun. I
this is a
love the
good
Pierce movies. Love them.
They're chef's kiss.
There's this weird trend right now, which is like, of course, like it's always popular to like the new thing and say that the last thing was bad. But I feel like Pierce, when he was on, like everyone agreed, like, yeah, this is the best Bond right now. And then Daniel Craig showed up, and there's this like weird reaction of people going like, oh yeah, the Pierce Brosnan movies suck. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Austin Powers happened, and everyone's like, Pierce is a joke.
Yeah,
right.
these movies are a joke. Like,
anyone who says the Pierce Brosnan movies that those sucked, I'm just like, where the fuck have you been with like the rest of the series?
Jay just gets out a gun and he's like, I respectfully disagree. Like,
Let me say that, okay, everyone's always loved GoldenEye. The World Is Not Enough is gaining traction in certain circles. More people are appreciating it. I honestly think next to maybe Octopussy, Tomorrow Never Dies is the most underrated film in the series.
I would agree that it's one of the most underrated in the series.
these two middle ones are wildly underrated because, like, again, I've said if you watch them back to back with Casino Royale, you're like, these are the same fucking movie. Like, what are you people on about? That, like, the three of them are just fun, slick, fast-paced movies, and Pierce is fun.
Though this one, I think this is the darkest of Pierce Brosnan's tenure, which we'll get to.
The dark middle chapter.
I don't know if I would say that, but continue with your point.
I wouldn't describe any of them as dark. Maybe The World Is Not Enough because there's betrayal in that one.
Well, yeah, but the whole Paris Carver scene is so, like, I would argue the whole Paris Carver scene is the most messed up part of Brosnan's tenure.
Yeah, but it's so quick. It's not like... I don't know. I kind of feel like it's more intense when Bond is being like tortured in North Korea in the same movie where he's a CGI puppet on a wave.
But he'll get through that.
The most depressing thing about Die Another Day is that there's a Korean man that turns white.
All right, so this movie starts with what I think Judi Dench or somebody calls a terrorist supermarket.
It's like a terrorist supermarket. Fun for the whole family.
Yeah.
Yes, it's the Terrorist Bazaar, and we get introduced to one of the best Brosnan side characters, Robinson.
Because Tanner was not available.
Yes.
Tanner was not available, but I fucking love Robinson.
Wasn't Colin Salmon supposed to be James Bond at one point? Or
Yeah,
am I
he would have been a
imagining?
great James Bond, yeah.
He's good looking, he's charismatic. I like him.
Get the hell out of there.
Now get the hell out of there.
I will give him a big old lick. I will admit, like, I love this opening. I think it's a blast. I have no idea what's going on.
Oh, I figured it out. I had to rewind a couple times, but I figured it out. So, like,
We've gotten to that point in these movies, right, where we're not even like paying attention to the plot, right? Like, or is that just me?
I was never paying attention.
Well, it's funny because this is actually very important to set up the movie because we got the introduction of Gupta,
Yeah.
and he's paying for the satellite scrambler that Elliot Carver uses to wreck the boat.
Yeah, and Bond is there in person scoping it out.
Oh, that's Ricky Jay, right?
Yeah, Ricky Jay is Gupta.
Ricky Jay.
All right, we should acknowledge, for me, the year is 1997.
Yes.
We have Ricky Jay, and one wonderful thing about this movie is it is shot by the great Robert Elswit.
So there's your Boogie Nights connection.
This is just parallel Boogie Nights experience.
Oh, do you want to know how Ricky Jay got involved?
Please tell me.
Was it like a Dirk Diggler type thing where like Roger Spottiswoode asked him to take his pants off?
Close.
Was he just doing magic in the parking lot? And they're like,
well, no, he had seen him do magic in the early 70s, and he's just like, wow, he seems really cool. And so when Roger Spottiswoode got
Ricky Jay?
Roger Spottiswoode thought Ricky Jay was really cool, and he wanted to cast him as something.
He's so cool.
He's so cool. No, but then when he got the job of Tomorrow Never Dies, he's like, oh, I could put Ricky Jay in this movie and have him be a henchman, and I could have him do his famous card throwing trick, because originally Gupta was not only like a computer hacker person, Gupta. He was not only a computer hacky person, but he was also a guy whose specialty was throwing deadly playing cards.
Yes, and they filmed that.
Oh, that would have slapped.
There were 2 deleted scenes that they actually shot. I was just watching them earlier, and it's like Gupta throwing his cards at random things in the control room, and then he throws one at the TV and it just sticks into the TV. And then later on, when they escape from the Ho Chi Minh Carver Center, he was supposed to pick up a playing card and then throw it at a guy or throw it at Bond, and then Bond uses a guy as a human shield, and he gets stabbed with the card.
The Ho Chi Minh Carver Center, we need to make that a real place. That has such like Emperor Palpatine surgical reconstruction centers like energy to it.
Yes.
And the weird thing is his hairline looks like Ho Chi Minh too. Like when he has the giant pictures of himself hanging around it.
Ho Chi Minh meets Steve Jobs.
Yes. James Bond's greatest villain.
That's the polar opposites, like a Jewish Hitler.
How can you beat him? He's at war with himself.
Such an enigma.
Such an enigma. But no, yeah, as you can guess, Gupta was written as an Indian character, and then they cast Ricky Jay, and then they were like, you want us to change the name? And he's like, no, don't change the name.
If this movie came out today, imagine like this character's called Gupta and it's Ricky Jay. Like I think the internet would not appreciate that.
That's like Emma Stone in Aloha.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
But I love how they introduce Gupta when they're monitoring the terrorist bazaar.
Gupta.
Gupta.
There's a difference. It's a real name.
You say Gupta, I say Gupta.
I say Gupta. Gupta.
Let's call the whole thing off.
Samadhi.
Can we talk about James Bond, how he's introduced? Because it's like simultaneously one of my favorite and least favorite introductions.
Oh, it's so cool. I like it.
He comes in, the guy's smoking.
Yeah, he's smoking.
He's smoking, and then you just see like out of frame just a fist coming in.
Like, punches him, and he goes like, filthy habit.
Filthy habit.
And I'm like, this is an amazing intro. It's so fucking funny and so on brand for Pierce. But at the same time, it reminds me that this is the start of the pussy Bond that doesn't smoke.
He smokes and die another day when he has his breakdown.
He does. He smokes some Cubanos. So.
Yeah, but I'm like, Pierce Brosnan had this whole thing of like, smoking is bad and I'm not gonna encourage people to smoke, as he's like chugging down martinis.
You know, making cigarettes is your own license to kill.
He's like, smoking is the only problematic thing about this character, so I'm not gonna do it. What are you talking about?
That's why he looks like he's 25 years old and all the other ones.
That's a good point, yeah.
But yeah.
Well, he didn't want another Surgeon General's warning at the end of this movie. Like a license to kill. Or it says, do not smoke as much as James Bond.
Now, St. Peter is the Golden Gate that you hate to make him wait, but you've just got to have another cigarette.
Actually, don't do anything that this man does.
Don't do it.
That's why Casino Royale is good, is because Casino Royale is a huge PSA telling people, like, if you want to be like this man, you'll lead a sad, bad life.
Sign me up!
This is your brain on Spy.
No, this is your brain on 007.
This is your... Yeah, and it's just your balls getting whipped.
Okay, wait, real quick. So, in the opening, they've decided to order a missile strike on
they
the
call a
terrorist
missile
bazaar.
and immediately regret it.
No, because there's a truck blocking a plane, and the plane is carrying nukes, and they didn't think to go like, maybe there's like black market plutonium.
This is extremely accurate to the British government.
No, wait. Why did was it the Russian president is going to have elections? So that's why they don't want to risk a nuclear explosion inside Russia?
Yeah, the Russian president just comes in and he's like, we're having elections. And
Wasn't
it's
this
like,
when Putin was elected?
Putin was elected in 2000, I think. So
you're
shortly
right. So
beforehand.
this is still Yeltsin. Okay.
It was still Yeltsin.
All right.
But I don't know what this has to do with anything. The point here is that he flies an airplane and it's really cool.
No, the scientific inaccuracy here is that I believe if you did bomb a nuke, unless it was detonated in a specific way, it would not do a nuclear explosion. This is what the internet told me. I'm not an expert.
Could it leak plutonium and scatter it all over the place, though?
Yeah, probably you don't want to mess with nukes either way, right?
I don't know, Jan. They look kind of fun.
Well, the Russian guy even says, like, this will make Chernobyl look like picnic.
There's enough plutonium to make Chernobyl look like picnic.
That's all you need to say.
But then that's kind of the whole thing is like, oh no, not only have they ordered a strike on James Bond, he's also going to get nuked. But, you know, James Bond, when he hears MI6 has ordered a strike on him with multiple missiles, he doesn't sit back and wait for those missiles to hit him. That would never happen.
Troy, why would you even think that? What makes you
That's
think
awful.
that would ever
James Bond
happen?
would never sacrifice himself for queen or country. He would get the fuck out of there.
He would shoot so many people with machine guns.
He hilariously is in a set piece where he needs to lure the missile away in order to save the terrorist arms dealers.
And I also, you know, you were talking about Spider-Man 2 a little bit ago, Paul, and this airplane sequence has some Tobey Maguire tier faces from Pierce Brosnan.
Oh, when he's being choked out by the guy in the back.
Yeah.
He's like, oh! I love the ADR also, where he's just he's like,
incredible face. Like, this is the movie that I'm like, just start hysterically laughing every time Pierce Brosnan is on screen, because there's something about him, like when he's walking around Vietnam with Michelle Yeoh with his like shirt open and everything, he just looks like such a confident moron, and I love it.
That's what happens when you don't have a script. He becomes a confident. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'll sell it.
He's such a bad drunk spy, but he carries himself with so much confidence.
It's good stuff, and the plane. Most of the effects of this are pretty good. I think it's definitely a step up from GoldenEye.
Oh yeah,
I would agree. Yeah.
One part where I was like, was I think he shoots the other plane or something, right? Or he distracts it. Somehow it gets lured. It crashes into the mountain phase. And that's definitely like After Effects plugin. I was like,
wait, Paul, you're missing the best gag of the scene is that he flies under the enemy plane, and as he's being choked out, he hits the ejector seat for the passenger thing. He goes flying up into the plane above him, and he's like perfectly in the passenger seat of the plane above him, and then the plane crashes after that.
No, that's where I'm like, they finally figured out these movies. It took 45 years, but they did it.
They did it, finally.
Yeah, I didn't know you could only eject one seat if you wanted, but it comes in handy.
Actually, it was 35 years.
Okay.
Oh.
That gag brings up what's great about the action in this movie. I think this movie has the best, arguably has some, if not the best action in the series. Not because it's realistic. They're all Looney Toony, cartoony physics to like every action beat, and it's great, and I love it because that's what James Bond does in live action better than anyone else.
Yeah, this movie, it not only has amazing tight action, but it does have like remind me a lot of like the new Mission Impossible, where it's just like, you can't just have good action. It needs to have like a Buster Keaton-ness to all of it. You know, it needs to have good creative gags. And this movie definitely has a lot of that.
It'd also be worth noting that this is the first Bond movie in a post-Mission Impossible world, right?
Yes.
Where
Well,
the two movie series are in conversation with each
But Mission
other.
Impossible still wasn't the Mission Impossible that we
No,
know
it
today.
wasn't stunt-centric at that point.
No, it was just a crazy, like, Brian De Palma, like, acid trip. Like,
Mission Impossible actually grossed more than GoldenEye.
That's stupid because it's a bad movie.
It's not as good
it's worse
as
than GoldenEye, yeah.
Yeah, it's worse than GoldenEye.
Hey, come after us, film Twitter. Fucking like, oh, there's a Dutch angle. It's a masterpiece. Fuck
my God,
off.
Brian
And
De
I like that
Palma
movie.
is pulling his Hitchcockian traits in this movie. He elevates it.
They like De Palma because he twists the camera. I like cameras that don't twist, okay? That's my take.
I like Spottiswoode where he just keeps that camera there and level, and sometimes he spins it.
Sometimes he spins it, and we like that. We like that.
Like that. We like that.
And that's okay. Okay. Tomorrow never dies.
I do want to say this might be my favorite opening. That was my favorite pre-title sequence of the Brosnan era because it's just so tight. There's no leaps of logic like in the GoldenEye one where I'm like, how does he not know that guy got shot?
I think the four of them are pretty A+, honestly.
Yeah, no, all of them are pretty good, but I don't know what you're saying about leaps of logic because I did describe he ejects a man into another plane.
That's just logical. That's how I kill a guy. That's how I kill a guy.
I wouldn't say logical, but it is fun.
And GoldenEye, he literally Supermaned into that plane.
I'm starting to
I'm
see
like,
this
"That's
trend,
fun."
Troy, where like when you find a movie fun, you like do all these mental
It makes so much
gymnastics.
sense to me now.
No. Or do I like the movie because it's doing those mental gymnastics for me?
I don't think so.
I think so.
If anything, it's trying less, but it's still
That's
great.
what makes it good. It's making it look effortless. The more effortless these are, it seems more ridiculous to
See,
hyperanalyze
these are
them,
the
but that makes
mental
them
gymnastics
better.
that I'm talking about. But no, I love this movie. I think it's a lot of fun, and I think
This opening is great.
the pre-title sequence is great, and I think the titles are great.
Yeah.
A fucking plus.
Thank
title
you.
sequence.
Thank you. I think the graphics are fantastic. Perfect way to
Fantastic.
bring James Bond
Yes.
close to the 21st century. This song, some people think it's mid. I think it fucking rules.
Including me.
I think
What?
it's near the bottom tier as well.
I'm pretending I'm surprised because I've heard you say this before.
Yeah, we were
Yeah,
talking
no.
the whole day before we recorded this episode about how we think.
Yeah, we
the song
basically
is mid.
recorded this episode already through chat.
Yeah, exactly. No,
We're just reading the chat out
We're
loud.
rehearsing. Yeah.
Yeah.
We workshopped all these bits.
Actually, Paul isn't even real. He's completely AI.
No, I'm actually text to speech right now.
I thought Paul was a cat.
He's an AI cat.
He's an AI cat. He doesn't exist.
Like the new Garfield. Like the Chris Pratt Garfield.
Meow.
Yeah, well, a cat walked on the keyboard, and now this is text to speech. So there you
Jake,
go.
what's wrong with the song? It's so cool.
I just don't think it captures the tone of the movie, and it's very, the beginning of the movie is like so fast, and then you're like, okay, I'm ready for the opening titles, and it's like this very, lethargic sounding
Yeah.
song that's just like very
But
mopey.
it's classic.
and-
But like, no James Bond movie is like slow and mopey.
No. But there's a different thing, like, bouncing off what Jake said. I was thinking about this today. I'm like, all the great James Bond themes are usually super propulsive or super reflective. Some of them are able to do both, and I think it's admirable that Tomorrow Never Dies, which was a very last-minute written song, tries to do both. But it doesn't, it feels lethargic. It's like they're trying to be cool, but then they're not.
It's a good melody. Okay, so it's a great instrumentation.
It's 1,000 times better than You Only Live Twice as a song.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree
Jared,
with
what
that.
would you encourage?
Oh my God, absolutely
No,
not.
this is not my
You only
fault.
live
This is
twice
not
is
my
re-
fault.
What have you done,
James
Jen? You
Bond.
just made Paul give another bad Bond song take. Jesus Christ. No, You Only Live Twice is much better than Tomorrow Never Dies. Tomorrow Never Dies is just like mopey, directionless.
Come on, guys.
Sheryl Crow's vocals are nice, but I'm like,
yeah.
but
She's the best
like
part of this.
The it's slow, but who cares? Who cares? There's
It's a good rendition of a mid song.
There's been
mediocre
slow
song.
James Bond songs before. Good ones.
I know there's been slow ones, but those are better.
This
Yeah.
one's great. Okay, so the instrumentation's great.
Obviously, the most fast-paced song that we've had is The Man with the Golden Gun, which apparently no one likes.
It's
Oh, I
awful,
love it.
yeah.
That's in my top 15.
Well, that song is like fun bad because it's like the most like literal song ever.
They wrote it in a
Tomorrow Never
weekend.
Dies is just like, I don't know. It's one of those ones that
But it sounds so classy and spy and
It sounds like a heroin haze.
heroin is good. Have you tried it?
no.
No.
What I want, if we're gonna have a heroin sounding song, I want it to be sung by Garbage.
Wait, by Garfield?
They actually, Garbage did a great job with
Yeah.
their theme.
No, come on. The World Is Not Enough is much more fast paced than this.
Yes, but
Yeah.
then KD Lang, see, the whole thing with this song, too, is in the end credits, we have the song that was supposed to be the opening song, Surrender by KD Lang, which does a slow take on a Tomorrow Never Dies song, and it's better.
I like that song a lot, but I think the beginning of this song is fantastic. It 1000% passes my cock and ball between the legs test.
Oh, good.
Oh, boy.
Listeners, you'll have to refer back to previous episodes. We're not going to elaborate on that.
But what about Katie Lang's Tomorrow Never Dies?
JK, you'll find out that all the James Bond songs pass my cock between the balls.
Like that's my whole thing with Sheryl Crow is selling the vocals, but this song does not prepare me for an action movie. And I feel like that's the main requirement of any James
It's
Bond
a little bit
theme.
of the License to Kill problem, but
this is much better.
Yeah. No, well, License to Kill is much better than Tomorrow
Than
Never
this?
Dies. Yes,
What?
of course.
No, Jake, I can't go with you down that road.
What the fuck are you on, man? This song is really good.
As a song, License to Kill is better. I don't like it with the movie, but the song by itself is fine. Tomorrow Never Dies doesn't go with the movie, and the song is mid. It's fine.
Let's all point and laugh at Jake. Let's all shame him.
Do it. I dare you.
Tomorrow Never Dies at least sounds like someone dying. License to Kill does not sound like anyone's going to get killed within a 5 feet radius of that
I
song.
like both songs, but this one's better.
I agree.
And I'm even more mad because there was a better song in the credits, and we didn't get that as the opening, and I'm mad.
No, I disagree. I think we have both. It's called a democracy, Jake. You get to choose.
This movie, you don't have to choose because it's just all hits.
Are we splitting the Tomorrow Never Dies anti-caucus because we can't come to an aggrement on License to Kill?
No, is that Tomorrow Never Dies anti-cock and balls? That's what it is.
No.
Oh, man, we're like an hour into this, and we're once again continuing our tradition of being only 15 minutes into the movie.
So yeah, there's the HMS Devonshire. They sink it.
Devonshire.
Well, I was a little worried because it's been A+ so far, and then I'm like, oh god.
And then you get your
men
military
talking on the phone. Oh no.
Yeah, but you know who one of those military men on the boat is?
Oh, I know what this is.
It's Gerard Butler.
This is Sparta!
I did not spot him.
I didn't spot him either, but he's there.
But I did later spot the other one that we'll talk about, the other sailor.
Hugh Bonneville? No, that's later.
But yeah, this is if I have one major gripe with the movie, it's almost exactly the same gripe as I have with GoldenEye, but in this one's a little accentuated, which is it takes a while to get going. I think the first hour is kind of like, let's get to it. But once we get to it in the second hour, it's a blast.
I'm less so of a fan of this specific part of like the sinking of the ship because Paul said this earlier, like whenever there's people on a ship, it's kind of boring and you're just kind of restricted.
But they love doing it.
And I'm like, where's James Bond?
And I'm also tying this into the song because the song is very lethargic. So you're like on this high, you calm down a little bit, and then you get to the ship, and now you're like, okay, this is a little boring. Get back to the fun stuff.
It's like a delicious 5-course meal. Like you start strong, then it's like a little palate cleanser.
And then you throw up, and then you start eating the throw up.
No, that's just Burger King.
Well, this is Burger King.
Burger King is delicious, by the way. Please sponsor us.
Here at You Only Listen Twice, we believe in having it your way.
Wait, no, but guys, seriously, have you had the Burger King patty melts? They are delicious.
I've directed Burger King commercials. I've had every single Whopper in existence.
Just give me the patty melt, okay? Just
give it to us.
I need this.
Anyway, after this very boring sinking scene, we are introduced to...
No! You completely have they been machine gunned already?
No, they get machine gunned concurrently with the introduction of Elliot Carver.
Yeah, this whole part is boring. But then we get introduced to Elliot, which is fucking like a godsend.
Love him.
Jake, you just did the Jeb Bush.
No, for listeners at home, I love Elliot Carver so much that when we mentioned his name, I turned into Jeb Bush for a second.
Yeah, you turned into Vince McMahon again. Like, he's the best one so far.
No, I actually was thinking about this. I think Elliot Carver is my favorite James Bond villain. Like, I think if I have to pick
definitely top 5 for me.
Top 5 for me, exactly.
He's got it all, yeah.
I don't like my favorite James Bond villains are the like bitchy unhinged entrepreneurs that think they're geniuses, but they're actually morons and just want to exploit other countries and natural resources. And this guy, Jonathan Pryce, one of my favorite actors of all time, he understands the assignment 1,000%.
Oh,
he's
yeah.
playing it so fucking well in the sense of he's trying.
You would never guess that he just jumped on set a few days beforehand.
You would never guess that he had to replace the other pope. They had two popes, and they got the other one.
You're right. Oh my god,
that's right. Oh my god, you're right. I just realized it.
I'm like, are they always up for the same role? And then in 2013, they're like, you're up for the role of pope.
Which one?
You get to share
My
it.
God. How has no one made this comparison before?
That's amazing.
Yeah, the two Elliot Carvers and Anthony Hopkins is like, I had to manipulate the media, but now you have to manipulate the media.
Tomorrow Never Dies literally predicted the papacy.
Oh my god.
But no,
my
I mean,
God.
this guy, he starts as restrained and trying to be respectable, and little by little, he starts getting more exasperated. And
little by little.
No, he's going 100 miles an hour
but
away.
he gets more unhinged as he goes on until
the first time you see him, he's going let's bribe the president, and after we bribe, he gives us the money, release the tape anyway.
Call the president. Tell him if he doesn't sign the bill lowering the cable rates, we'll release the video of him with a cheerleader in the Chicago motel room. And after he signs the bill, release the tape anyway.
Well, that's just normal businessman behavior. But then by the end,
he's giggling and cackling. He's like Mr. Burns on crack, which I love about it.
Again, normal businessman behavior. But by the end, he's doing fake kung fu.
A based viewer will understand that this is normal.
That's what I love about Jonathan Pryce's performance, is that Jonathan Pryce is good at keeping it under wraps. But then it gets out when he's like, how's our new software product going? With enough bugs so that they'll have to buy an update. And he's like, excellent.
Are we ready to release our new software?
Yes, sir. As requested, it's full of bugs, which means people will be forced to upgrade for years.
Outstanding.
Yeah, he's legitimately a Simpsons character.
Yeah,
he's
he's
Hank Scorpio. Yeah,
Hank Scorpio.
He is such a wonderfully unhinged classic Bond villain, and he's so committed to it. I mean, I don't know. I was always before we get to the Craig era, I always thought that my favorite villain was Telly Savalas Blofeld, but I'm watching this and I'm like, nah, man. Elliot's got the sauce. Jonathan Pryce, motherfucker, Brazil and I mean the Pope, I guess.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Pirates of the Caribbean. I feel like he doesn't get mentioned that often, but in my opinion, he's one of the goats.
You know what was a movie he was great in that nobody watched? Terry Gilliam's The Man Who Killed Don Quixote. He plays Don Quixote.
Oh yeah, he's good in that.
Yeah, he's great as Don Quixote.
Don Quixote.
That is not a good movie, but he's really good.
It's a great movie. And I'll fight you right now.
I think it's fine.
We have to find something to fight about because we all love this movie.
Well, yes.
No, but if we all love a movie, that means we'll just fight even
No,
more.
we'll get even more exacerbated, and we'll start yelling at each other even more because Troy will just start mentioning how this is the monomyth. And
I actually do have an issue with how this movie does the structure.
No, speaking of which, how this movie just understands what James Bond is. We go from Jonathan Pryce maniacally evilly talking in a giant monitor with his little iPad thing, and then we cut to somewhere in Europe with James Bond shagging it up. I'm like,
No, he's at Oxford.
He's at Oxford, yeah.
Somewhere in Europe.
No, but it's important that he's on his native soil.
Well, not anymore, Jen.
I was like, he's in Europe. They're like, no, he's in Oxford. I'm like,
Jan, the United Kingdom has worked very hard for us to not consider them Europe. They have done so much to not be Europe.
35 years.
Well, it's the only reason he's at Oxford is so that Moneypenny can say cunning linguist. And
yes.
We all clap.
You always were a cunning linguist, James.
Well, yeah, because he's having sex with a... You guys blow all the build-up to all the payoffs. It's because he's having sex with a Dutch woman, correct?
Yes, or Danish. Yeah.
Danish.
This movie has some of the best one-liners and play on words,
Oh,
but
this is the king of the one-liners.
I also feel like this is like a return to the early 70s of like me consistently being like, what did you mean by that?
No, the one-liners in this movie are great.
The one-liners aren't always hitting.
No, I mean, even the ones I don't understand are like amusing to me because like there was one in particular where me and Melissa had to rewind it like 5 times where we're like, what?
Which one?
It was when he sees a giant poster of Carver.
Oh, I have the exact same reaction.
Yeah,
I have the exact same reaction.
Wait, what did he
It
say
sounds like
again?
someone has an Oedipus complex.
If I didn't know better, I'd say he developed an Oedipus complex.
An Oedipus complex, and I'm like,
That's not what that means. You said that before. It's out of context here.
what does him having a giant poster have to do with him wanting to fuck his mom? Like, what is?
Yeah, I know.
Do you mean he has a god complex?
A Napoleon complex?
A phallic complex?
I don't know.
I heard someone say that he actually says an edifice complex, as in like the edifice.
rhyme?
But I rewound it and I listened to it. He clearly says Oedipus complex.
Yeah, he says Oedipus.
Developed an Oedipus complex. Oedipus complex. Oedipus complex. Oedipus complex.
And I'm just like, what?
That was kind of a head scratcher.
That was classic, like Diamonds Are Forever. Just me being like, what did he mean by that?
I had a moment where I'm just like, is there another layer to the Oedipus complex that I'm just not aware of? That it's not just fucking moms? And then I'm like, no, it's about fucking moms. Right?
It's wanting to kill your dad and fuck your mom.
And blind yourself. Like I do after wanting to watch all these movies.
Even the weird Oedipus line kind of makes me love the Pierce Brosnan Bond even more because it adds to this like confident idiot kind of thing.
Well, yeah, no, it's like Pierce Brosnan Bond. Whenever the Pierce Brosnan Bond is doing a quip and that you don't get, I just cut to him on the beach going, I do it in order to survive.
No, like I totally see why the OSS 117 movies came out during the Brosnan tenure because I'm just like, that's him. Like
Wait, did you say during the Brosnan tenure?
Yeah.
No, the first one came out in 2005, and the second one came out in 2009, and the third one came out in 2021. Those are all Craig tenure.
No, Craig started in 2006.
Okay, but you said they all came out during the Brosnan era, and they are ahead of Craig by
Oh my god, you guys are fucking unhinged with the technicalities this episode.
That's like they all came out during the Brosnan.
Did they make OSS
You're just
17
hearing
came out?
shit you want to hear.
It's Gupta. It's actually 35 years. I'm like, will you let me talk about the fucking stupid movie where like James Bond goes to Vietnam?
Because your points are built on lies, Jan.
Okay, but the cunning linguist line is even kind of a head scratcher on its own because you're like, how does Moneypenny know?
Well, because she already is calling him and he says, I'm brushing up on my Danish. Because he tells Moneypenny that. Moneypenny retorts, you are always the cunning linguist.
I'm just up here at Oxford, brushing up on a little Danish.
You always were a cunning linguist, James.
So it makes sense.
But how does Moneypenny know that he's good at oral sex?
Because Moneypenny has a dick tracker on James Bond. Has this not been clear since Dr. No?
James Bond is a famous man who woos a bunch of women. Everyone knows this.
Oh, so it's just public knowledge. Well, you know.
Well, yeah, because M walks in and goes, don't ask, don't tell.
Don't ask, don't tell.
Well, I noted that too.
Yeah.
Slightly
That was
different
straight.
context.
The
now.
Clinton years, baby. No, I think it is implied that this version of Moneypenny has laid James Bond at some point.
Well, and she knows how he sounds when he's having sex, because they were making out on the phone as well.
Because, like, especially in Die Another Day, it's, like, really implied that they had, like, one hot night of passion and Moneypenny hasn't gotten over it.
No. She wants that one hot night. She hasn't gotten it yet. I always thought that they still haven't slept together.
Is that how you interpret it? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, these movies are they're very open to interpretation.
They're just so dense and multi-layered, you know.
Yeah.
Well, no, as I said before, the trek of Samantha Jane Bond's Moneypenny is that in GoldenEye, she's like, oh, James, you'll never get me. I have a rich, fulfilling life. And then as each movie goes on, you realize she's becoming more and more obsessed with James Bond. She can't be in denial about it anymore.
The other thing is, this movie also figured out, like, I was wondering the other day, like, how the fuck do we make these M briefing scenes entertaining? And this movie figured it out. I'm like, just put them in a car.
Yeah, just put them in something else other than an office.
If what they're talking in is moving, it's immediately more engaging.
You know what's even funnier is that there was more to that scene that was on the cutting room floor.
But I love that it's so short.
Yeah.
No, but the deleted scene, you're supposed to see Bond in a wider shot. And you're supposed to see that he's drinking as they're in the car. And every time he keeps trying to take a drink, the car like bumps around and he keeps like spilling his drink.
Oh, that's a good bit.
That's like a Big Lebowski bit. Like, hey man, there's a beverage over here.
His whole beautiful mystique gone.
She's with them. Like, has it ever occurred to you this is not such a simple, you know?
Well, wait. Okay, so the plot of the movie is...
Oh, who cares?
Shush! M is investigating that the British ship was sunk in the China Seas, and a video leaked of all the sailors being machine gunned, which was shot by Carver's assistant Stamper, who makes snuff films on the side, the novelization reveals, which is why he had a camera. So this is leaked, and everyone thinks China did it, and Britain and China are going to go to war in the South China Seas, but Carver's newspapers reported on it before anyone else did. So,
and Bond thinks, that's very suspicious. We should investigate this guy. And Emma's like, you're right, we should.
Yeah.
But also, Carver married the love of James Bond's life.
Paris.
Yes, Paris.
Paris Carver.
Who is once again like one of the hottest like women ever, in my opinion.
Yeah, Terry Hatcher is beautiful.
Terry Hatcher is so fucking beautiful.
This is peak Lois and Clark.
And we should note the conversation between the two great franchises, Bond and Spy Kids. It continues.
Yes. She gets her hair lit on fire.
Her and Alan Cumming are in Spy Kids. Yes.
That's true.
I thought you were going to say like Terry Hatcher, the one great franchise Terry Hatcher was in. I'm like, Superman? No, Spy Kids.
Spy Kids.
Well, Terry Hatcher plays Floop in Spy Kids, if you look closely.
No, she's Minion.
She's Minion. She's Monk.
I still haven't seen the first Spy Kids, and it's been years since I saw the second one.
If you want to see Floop and Terry Hatcher,
the first three Spy Kids are like generally like great James Bond for kids movies.
I just found out Glenn Powell is in the third Spy Kids.
Yeah, he is.
Oh,
That's
wow.
wild to me.
I just found out he was in The Dark Knight Rises, too.
I knew that.
I didn't know
Who's
that.
Glenn Powell?
The dick from Top Gun Maverick.
Anyone But You with Sydney Sweeney.
Yeah, he's also in that.
Oh, is he the man that looks like a capybara?
What? What? Jan?
No, he looks like an action figure.
There was a Twitter post that said that he looked like if a capybara wished to be human, and I was like, I see that.
I see it now. Crap, I do see it.
Just a giant guinea pig man.
Yeah.
Oh, no. No, anyway, Back to Tomorrow Never Dies.
Yeah, I don't even know what movie we're talking about.
Yeah, no, you remember how last time we were talking about how James Bond, like, everybody keeps going, like, you're a sexist, misogynist dinosaur, or all the people you've killed and the women you've let die, and everyone's giving him shit, and then Bond is just like, you know, I am what I am.
Yeah.
And then in this movie, much like Paul was saying in the beginning, where it's just like, okay, Bond is fully formed and everybody likes him, the people around him just acclimate to him, even though they're people of the 90s. Like in that car scene, they're just, M tells Bond, you should pump Paris for information. Moneypenny goes like, you should do some double pumping. And then Bond goes like, maybe I should have pumped you, Moneypenny.
Use your relationship with Mrs. Carver if necessary.
I doubt if she'll remember me.
Remind her. Then pump her for information. You'll just have to decide how much pumping is needed, James.
If only that were true of you and I, Moneypenny.
So now everybody else is just used to Bond and like it's just grown accustomed to it.
It makes sense.
The M Moneypenny dynamic is so interesting when it's two women and they're like surrounding Bond. They're like, you're going to have sex with her, James? You're going to have sex with her, James? And it's like these two women like making fun of him and he's like, stop it. Stop.
Leave me alone.
Well, I think it makes sense if there's an arc to this saga to the Pierce Brosnan films. I think this makes total sense because GoldenEye is a movie where everyone is trying to tell James to stop doing whatever he's doing, and that whole movie is about James being like, no. And then this movie, everyone's just like, okay.
Do you?
Yeah, do you?
This is the only Brosnan movie where people generally trust him to do his job and don't get mad at him. Because they don't trust him in The World Is Not Enough because he's the only one who thinks the bad guy is who the bad guy is. And then in Die Another Day, he is a rogue agent acting on his own behalf.
Right.
Yeah, this is kind of the only one where he's just doing his job.
The hell is he doing? His job.
I miss these days. With these fucking Daniel Craig movies, like, I fucking miss the days when M is like, James, here's a mission. Do the mission. The end.
Yeah,
Right.
I think the Broccoli's, I think we've all kind of missed the boat that a large part of James Bond appeal is the fantasy of being good at your job.
The fantasy of being good at your job, yeah, and also, like, just the fact that these are, like, little anthology stories.
I'm sorry, Troy. I don't fantasize about labor.
Yeah, come on, Troy. We're woke.
We're the
Come on
woke
now.
generation. We fantasize about being told we suck at our jobs and we should quit and do something else.
Anyway, so he's got to go to Hamburg, Deutschland, for
Yes.
a swank party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now Q is working at an airport. He's
working at Avis, and he's got a little vest.
He's joined Moneypenny at the toll booth.
Yeah. Behind the scenes, real quick, there was apparently, Pierce Brosnan was quoted in an interview as saying, yeah, we all had a discussion about Desmond before the movie. And at one point, they were going to retire him. And his only scene was going to be in the second half of the movie. James Bond was going to end up on a boat in the China Seas. And
he was going to sing, I'm going to take you on a slow boat to China to
no,
Q.
he was going to be on a slow boat to China with 3 gorgeous women. And James Bond would go, oh, Q. And he's enjoying retirement. And Q would go, these are my granddaughters.
Oh, I thought you were saying that one of the 3 gorgeous women was Q.
That would be a twist.
He gets on the boat, and they do like a look where he looks up like some legs, and then
Yeah, he's
Q.
playing footsie with. I also love just the introduction of Q is like it's like a jump scare. Like he just turns around and he's there.
Yeah. Ah, an old man.
No, because it's the woman that's like dealing with Bond, and then she gets called away, and then he goes like, ahem, and it's just like, oh my God, Q,
Yeah.
you now work at Avis.
But I actually jumped. Like, I mean, Q, he's like 98, but he still got the riz. He's still amazing as Q.
Once again, genius comedy writing. That's like, how did they not think of this before? He's pretending to be. He's like taking notes for insurance purposes.
Yeah.
That's great.
Do you need collision coverage? Fire? Property destruction? Personal injury? I hope not, but accidents do happen.
That takes care of the normal wear and tear. Do I need any other protection?
Only from B007, unless you bring that car back in pristine order.
It's great. Now it's like a fatherly relationship with James Bond. I love it.
Have you guys ever seen the making of Tomorrow Never Dies? It's on YouTube.
I've seen it, yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah, it's like a full special, and it is hosted by Q. It's Desmond Llewellyn as Q, but he's not playing Desmond Llewellyn. He's playing Q.
Jake, we watched this one time when we were like really drunk in our college apartment.
Oh, yeah, I think so. And it's just like, now agents, get ready. We're going to hear from our special agent, Michael G. Wilson, and how he planned James Bond's mission. And then it cuts to like actual behind the scenes stuff. And then at one point they're talking about Daniel Kleinman. He introduces Daniel Kleinman going like, this agent is a music video director and he's working on something very important.
Now, the next section of this briefing comes from British agent Daniel Kleinman, who's been working closely with 007 for some time now. He's based in London and has one of the best undercover stories of any agent currently in duty. He masquerades as a rock and roll music video director.
And then they cut to Daniel Kleinman working on the intro, and he keeps talking about how the intro is like my adolescent fantasies, and it cuts immediately to Q goes like, enough with adolescent fantasies.
The ultimate music video crossed with your ultimate adolescent fantasy.
That's quite enough adolescent fantasies for one day, thank you.
No, I remember this because, like, we got wine drunk and I was crying because we had just seen Skyfall and I was like, I miss Q. This is the real Q.
Nobody does it better.
Oh, and Paul, if you were enjoying the comedic writing of this scene, it was even better because there's a deleted scene. You know how there's like all the crates with the cars? The first crate that they open, it open up, and then you see a cage. And inside the cage was a jaguar.
Wait, what?
And then Bond just goes like, Jaguar, Q. And Q goes like, sorry, that's for a different assignment.
Right, now pay attention, 007. Your new car.
Jaguar?
Wrong assignment.
Oh, that's a good gag.
Yeah, that is.
Well, I fucking love. We've literally gotten to the point where like the car is just a toy, like it's just remote control, and it's awesome.
It's just a remote control BMW.
It's in a crate, as you mentioned, Jake, and it opens like around them, and I'm like, if Q wasn't on his mark, he would have died. In that
Yeah, this old man would have been crushed by like 50 pounds of wood.
Yeah, that scene where like it stops in front of them. I think Melissa genuinely, like, I've never heard her go like, like more genuinely.
Oh no, Bond is on a suicide pact. He's gonna kill himself and Q.
You're going with me, Q.
So we're going to hell together.
We're going to hell together.
End of the line.
I know what you did for the Contras, Q.
That would be amazing if, like, in The World Is Not Enough, when he's descending, there's just like fire.
Flames.
And there's just footage of him aiding the Contras.
It flashes before his eyes. But thanks to Q and the good people at BMW and the Sony Ericsson, we have basically Knight Rider.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tinka, I love, that is my favorite of the cars. I mean, well, no, there's also the invisible car. I mean, can we all agree that the Brosnan era is rivaling the Connery era for the most gadget-centric and also the best gadgets?
Yes.
Well, yeah, because they actually like the gadgets.
Well, I still maintain that probably the best gadgets are in OK Connery.
Well, yes. Okay,
from a certain point of view.
No, but I think Barbara did a really great job in being like, I don't know why they were trying to get rid of the gadgets at one point, because this is like one of the best parts of the, I mean, it's appropriate in Casino Royale, but like for these ones, go gadgets galore, man. Like, these are good.
Adolescent fantasy toys.
Yeah, right.
Toys. Yeah.
Except I hate the body of the BMW in this because it looks so not Bond-like.
It's not a pretty car.
It does look like a Honda Civic, yeah.
Yeah, no, it just looks like those ugly, boxy, four-door, like, 90s cars.
Yeah.
Yeah. It looks like a car parked in West Hollywood and like not the rich side. Like,
Okay.
Now we're at the swanky Carver party, and he brings the car with him.
It's a broadcast.
It's a launch event, I guess.
I like this scene. I like how it looks, and I like Elliot Carver, and Paris is really hot, but
it's
one of those scenes where I'm like, can we get on it?
No,
like,
because
no,
we have
Jan,
the
this
first
is like one of the
introduction
best
of
scenes.
Carver in the scene is just like, oh, that mad cow disease. Some say I printed those stories because Angus Black cheated me in a poker game. I thought that was ridiculous, and I pushed the story even more.
Anyway, there's absolutely no truth in this malicious rumor that I started running mad cow disease stories simply because Angus Black, the great British beef baron, lost £10,000 to me in a game of poker and refused to pay up.
I just
At
said
one
I
point,
liked him.
wait, Jan, real quick. At one point when he's telling that story, Elliot goes, because of my feud with a British beef baron. And just the way he pops those B's.
The great British beef baron.
Just makes me so happy.
I just said I like him. I love Elliot Carver.
So why are you harshing the mood?
No, the movie's great.
We're going to find something to argue about.
I think like all Bond movies, the pacing's a little wacky.
No.
Well, I would actually go the opposite. I think the pacing's a little better in the first half of the movie than in the second half.
Are you fucking kidding me?
I
am
love
all for the pacing in both halves of the movie.
Yeah, because in the first half, and this is because of the script, in the first half of the movie, you get a lot of intrigue. Like, I live for the stuff at the party where James Bond and Paris and Elliot and Wei Lin are all, like, introducing themselves to each other.
I mean, you know who's who immediately. There's not much intrigue.
It's not who's who. It's how they're navigating their relationships with each other, which
They
is
all
interesting
know
to
who
me.
each other is.
Except for Wei Lin, we're not sure who the hell she is.
Yeah, we're not sure who's helping who's trying to get with who.
If you're familiar with Michelle Yeoh, you know that she's gonna do some action.
Yeah,
so.
but there's storytelling that we still have to do here.
But audiences at the time probably did not. I mean, I think this is basically your first Hollywood movie.
Yeah, that's the movie that made her famous in the West, quote unquote.
Yeah, because she was really big in Hong Kong.
I love Michelle Yeoh. She's not bad in this, but I do think it's a little bit.
Michelle Yeoh gives flat line readings.
It's a little bit of a way. Like, she's a great actress. She now has an Oscar.
She's steely. She's effortless. Troy,
Yeah.
She says every line the exact same way.
No, she's here for the action.
No, I do think she's a great actress. I think she is very beautiful, and she's one of the great martial artists, in film. But in this movie, they don't use any of that really much.
The martial arts.
She does a little bit of kicking, but
how much more kicking do you want?
Well, have you seen Police Story 3? That's insane.
Yeah, that's not a James Bond movie.
One of her big Hong Kong roles was Police Story 3, and at this same time, she and Jackie Chan were making it in Hollywood movies, and they both have the same thing, which a million video essays will show you the difference between how those martial arts scenes are shot, where it's a little too tight and it's a little too choppy to fully appreciate the choreography. Right?
Yeah.
Sure.
And just the martial arts in general is not as good,
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Well, because the whole thing with this movie is it's cartoony violence, and in order for martial arts to be good, it should look a little realistic.
But James Bond having a martial arts sidekick, it sounds amazing. Go full with it. Like, what's the problem?
That's the whole second half of the movie, though, is them going.
No, we get it eventually.
I mean, we get it, but like, if you've seen Michelle Yeoh do other shit, especially in American movies, also like in Everything Everywhere All at Once, she's got it. Like she's up there with Mr. Chan and Mr. Jet Li.
Yeah. I mean, that's the main criticism of Tomorrow Never Dies, is it does the villain really well, and it does a lot of the action gags and one-liners very well. Everything else is just pretty good. It's not exceptional. That's the issue.
That's
with the movie.
a trend with a lot of these Bond movies.
I have to say, Michelle Yeoh is a little wooded in her line deliveries, but I like her character a lot. I think she definitely has the screen presence.
She's not bad, no. I just think that knowing what she can do, she's a little underused.
Well, they're not gonna make her actually fucking do crazy shit, because
why not?
That's not how the movies are made in the West.
This was exceptional in terms of how much martial arts she's actually doing, and for the Bond franchise, this is remarkable, considering this is not the first, actress we've seen that is completely out of their element mouthing English dialogue, and yet she's doing it pretty damn well.
Okay, here's my thing with Michelle Yeoh as an actor as well, and why I think she is slightly miscast in the role. I feel this character is supposed to be kind of like a black cat, Catwoman, like teasing, duplicitous, always got a sleeve up her
always got an ace up her sleeve.
But in general, Michelle Yeoh plays very earnest people, like very upfront people.
I will 1000% agree with you on there.
Yeah, so she's playing it very earnestly, so it's kind of a disconnect, where Pierce Brosnan comes off as the more double-dealy Two-Face.
Yeah, no, Bond is the guy that we're not sure if we're supposed to trust.
I don't know about that guy. He's kind of creepy.
We feel unsafe around him.
I feel unsafe around this banker. And so first time I watched this movie, I'm like, he introduces himself as a banker named James Bond. That's so stupid. But then I realized,
oh, it's hilarious.
Because he dated Paris Carver, he had to use his real name. Otherwise, she would just go James, and he'd go, no, I'm Nigel Thornberry. Like, no.
The banker Nigel Thornberry.
Yeah. It's even funnier because we've established that James Bond is like kind of famous in universe, but he's just going like, hello, I'm James Bond, the banker.
No relation.
No relation to James Bond, the spy. And then Alien Carver's like, this is James Bond, the spy, right? And everyone's like, yeah, this is.
Oh, he's doing spy shit right now. That's what he's doing.
He's such a bad fucking spy.
Well, no, but it's interesting. The betrayal that Elliot has comes from him hearing his wife say, do you still sleep with a gun under your pillow?
Tell me, James, do you still sleep with a gun under your pillow?
Jonathan Pryce does a good job of like subtly registering betrayal. The betrayal isn't that his wife cheats on him. It's that she's
Pierce Brosnan lied to him
about the British Secret Service. It's like, oh, she knew he was British Secret Service.
Wait a minute, you're not a banker.
Wait a minute,
I trusted you
to be a banker.
You seemed like a chill guy to hang out with, and you betrayed me.
Well, because Bond is the worst spy ever, and he keeps making references to the incident in the South China Sea.
Yes, he does.
He goes like, Bond, you have an active imagination. I should commission you to write a novel. He's like, oh, I could never write one. I'd be lost at sea.
Tell me, Elliot, I was just wondering about your satellites.
Are they merely tools for information, Mr. Bond?
Or disinformation. Say if you wanted to manipulate the course of governments, or even a ship.
You have a vivid imagination for a banker. Perhaps I should commission you to write a novel.
Oh, heavens no, I'd be lost at sea. Adrift.
And then Carver just immediately goes like, this Bond guy is very suspicious, beat the shit out of him.
He's like, these stocks and bonds at the bank are sinking faster than this boat that sank in the Indo-Chinese Ocean. Am I
Under
right?
suspicious circumstances.
And Elliot Carver's just like, what? He's like, do you know something?
Didn't Carver use a specific kind of ammo when he machine gunned the sailors? Wasn't it like the Chinese army ammo or something? Like,
yeah. But the scene where they're beating the shit out of James Bond is the funniest shit ever. Not only do they immediately just start beating the crap out of him and he's like helpless, but like the punching sound effects that they use are the classic like Avid like whoosh.
No, it's like stuff that you would hear on like a cartoon show.
Or like on a parody film.
Throughout the movie, the punching sound effects sound like that.
They literally kick him in the back and it's like whoosh.
It sounds like his nuts are getting crushed when he's getting like kicked in the back.
I love when it cuts when he turns the tables on him and it's a security guard like just watching, and then in the background we see James Bond like throw a guy in a piano, hit a guy with a cello.
Yeah, I love that.
And then just chucks him through a window.
Oh god, that's fun.
That's great.
I love Pierce and everything he does. He's just got such a like fuck you god mine attitude. He's just having fun. Like this is not
sauce. He's got the swag.
They say that if you enjoy what you do, you will not work a day in your life, and Pierce perfectly embodies this with like he just loves beating the shit out of random strangers that the British government tells him to like
I mean,
kill.
I think hands down Brosnan liked playing the role the most, right? Like I don't even think that's a debate.
I mean, he looks like he's having a blast for sure.
He's the only one who wanted to be there every step of the way.
He was like sad when they told him to get lost, basically.
The only one they ever fired. Because they hate the Irish.
Well, because Kevin McClory, of course. So.
Anti-Irish discrimination, alive and well.
I like that when Quentin Tarantino was gonna do Casino Royale, he was like, I would have done it with 55-year-old Pierce Brosnan, and I'm like, honestly, based. Like that would have been
seriously.
That
Like,
would have been great.
it.
Fucking do it. Okay, no. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna follow the proud Kevin McClory tradition and remake Thunderball with Pierce Brosnan.
Wait, why not remake Casino Royale with Pierce? Why not do both at the same time? Alternate scenes from
I'm
Casino
just gonna
Royale
remake
and
all my
Thunderball.
favorite James Bond movies with Pierce Brosnan, including the ones that he's in. Just the Kevin method.
Wait. So while he's beating people with cellos, we're also cross-cutting with him finding out how Carver's like a piece of crap, with Carver doing the full-on Citizen Kane Declaration of Principles.
Yes. He's so good.
I offer you my Declaration of Principles. A promise to the men and women of this planet, my brothers and sisters, whom I so humbly serve.
I have a hunch. It might turn out to be something pretty important.
I love having public hypocritical villains.
Yeah, well, like so cartoonish, like Simpsons level of hypocritical villains, where it's just like anyone should see like, how ridiculously evil they are, and they're just, oh man, and he loves every second of it.
This is one of these movies where I'm just like laughing at the screen for like no particular reason, like nothing funny has happened, but I'm just... It's funny to me, like watching Ricky Jay and Jonathan Pryce dressed as Chairman Mao looking at computers dumbfounded. It's just funny to me. I don't know.
It is so funny, Pryce, the way he delivers in the speech. I, Jonathan Carver. Elliot Carver. It's my Mandela Effect version of the movie. I, Elliot Carver, have spoken with the British Prime Minister and the Chinese President firsthand. I, Elliot Carver, will be here for you. It's just great. It's great.
And then Bond shuts down his transmission, and then Carver's like freaking out, and he fires his assistants.
Yeah, and Terry Hatcher is like, there, honey. And he's like, no, you don't get it.
Come on, Elliot. Ignore those people. Sometimes these things happen.
Not to me.
He ruined my big night. He ruined my show.
He ruined my dream journal. Send him to the principal's office at once.
Why is that Doug Walker?
That's Shark Boy and Lava Girl, you heathen.
Oh.
Mr. Electric, send him to the principal's office and have him expelled.
Another Rodriguez classic.
Send him to the principal at once.
But then he gets with Terry Hatcher, and that's a hot and dirty scene.
And then the introduction of James Bond in the scene is that he has not one, he has like 15 shot glasses that are empty right next to him, but he's still drinking out of one shot glass, and he's downing a bottle of Smirnoff, and then he gets out his gun, puts the silencer on, and it's like they're trying to make it like the Rick Blaine Casablanca thing, where he's just like, I just saw the love of my life, and I'm messed up right now.
Yeah, but it comes across as just like a weirdo drunko who will just shoot anyone that walks in.
Exactly, James Bond.
Yeah. I don't know. He's so confidently awful and stupid. I know I've said it many times, but I just love him.
And it's so funny when Paris comes in and is like trying to talk to him and seduce him, and then they're starting to rekindle. It's like supposed to be like Casablanca, where it's just like, get out, you dumb bitch. But instead he just goes like,
when do they say that in Casablanca?
Iconic lines.
Well,
basically.
It's kind of the opposite of Casablanca, actually, because in Casablanca,
it is. That's what I'm saying is weird about
Ilsa
it.
is devoted to Laszlo, and Rick has to help that. But here, you have Paris, and her first scene goes, I've picked Elliot. I'm with Elliot. And then
immediately she's like, no, I actually love you. And then Bond's like, what about your whore husband? And she's like, no, I want to fuck you.
You made your bed, now lay in it.
Now I need a version of Casablanca where it's just like, get the fuck out of here, you bitch. Where's your whore husband?
All the fucking gin joints, that bitch walks in.
Bitch walks into mine with her whore husband.
Wait, what's the Taffin quote? Well, then maybe you ought to leave.
I'm standing in your doorway.
Then maybe you shouldn't be living here!
Where he's just shouting.
But yeah, I guess it's supposed to be like they were in love at one point. It's not, it doesn't come across very well.
Apparently at one point, Paris was supposed to be Sylvia Trench.
Yeah, Sylvia Trench was considered all the way from Dr. No and from Russia.
That would have been
Love.
cool, but I mean, when they do these things of like, oh, this character should be, or like, with like Rami Malek, like he's totally gonna be Dr. No. I'm like, why? Who cares? Why?
It wasn't going to be a twist. It was just that she was Sylvia Trench, but she moved on.
No, but even just like bringing characters back, it's just like John Don Baker does not need to be Felix. He can just be a random CIA guy.
We were talking about this though, Jake, is that it's kind of like we mentioned having Felix in License to Kill, where it's like it doesn't really change anything except if you're a diehard fan who sort of remembers the other movies, then it's like it's easy cashing in on, previous.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I mean, it makes a little more sense in License to Kill because it's part of the story.
Well, but this is part of the story.
This is part of the story.
Jan, this is the whole heart of the movie.
I mean, it doesn't go anywhere, but...
Yeah, but this is Sylvia Trench would be like a completely different character here.
Well, okay, so they were considering Sylvia Trench. They were also considering Natalia from the last movie. they were always going to be married to Carver and they were going to die, but they chickened out about bringing back a beloved character to kill them. But yes, I would argue that's kind of the issue with the movie, is the movie should be about James Bond coming to grips with his long-lost love. And I think you do get more resonance from that having been someone we've spent some time with. And I think in License to Kill, it works the same way with Felix. If it had been some random American guy in License to Kill, that movie wouldn't have hit at
I mean, I know you like the emotional backbone type James Bond movie.
It's generally important to movies.
Not in these ones. I
I
like hear how like she dies and he's like, no, and then we move on.
Well, no, that's the issue with the movie. That's in the movie's detriment. They should have embraced
here's
that.
the weird thing. Isn't it kind of a detriment that Paris is brought up and she's a big part of the first half of the movie and then she's pretty much all but forgotten about in the second half?
That's my issue.
Yes, it's a problem, but I don't care in this movie.
Yeah, I don't care.
I care.
Doesn't hamper my enjoyment of the movie. No.
I mean, it does flesh out. We'll get to, we're so close to it. But I will say that 10-minute span between when the movie transitions past Paris is what defines the Pierce Brosnan Bond.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But let's get to the next scene. So after they have sex, she goes like, oh, this job of yours, oh, it's murder on relationships.
This job of yours, it's murder on relationships.
Hard cut to Elliot Carver plotting her murder.
Yeah.
What does he say?
The doctor will pay a visit.
I think we should set an appointment for my wife with the doctor.
The most ominous shit. You're like, what do you mean?
Well, where does Bond go? Is this where he does the mission?
Well, he's fighting a guy in the printing press.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
this is that scene.
The printing press scene is when the movie gets really rad.
That's great.
That's a great scene that like very slick action. Then Michelle Yeoh shows up and she does like a little like a Batman.
She's doing the Spider-Man walk on the walls.
like a Batman 66 walk.
Bond is like being shot at and he's running through a door and then literally he does like a double take. Like he stops as bullets are flying past him and he just looks at Michelle Yeoh going down the wall and he's just like, what the fuck?
Don't they like smile at each other? Like
no, she smiles at him going like, hee hee.
That's great stuff. I love that.
And Bond's like, what is going on? And then he throws a guy in a printing press, and it's red, white, and black all over.
The battle of the printing press is real. Although, like, the guy that he throws through the newspapers, like, there was clearly, like, a cushiony mat there that you can clearly see, but that's fine.
But
like,
you know what's really funny? The guy is wearing, like, a red sports coat, and when I was a kid, I thought he threw an Avis salesman into the printing press.
He really hates Avis.
I'm just like, oh God, it's killing you.
He's killing you. No, 007, I'm here to help.
No. See you in hell, Q.
This is the movie where he tries to constantly kill Q.
Yeah. And then he has the line afterward when all the blood is covering the newspapers.
Yeah.
He's just like, they'll print anything these days.
They'll print anything these days.
Great one-liner.
It's wonderful.
Throwback to the early 70s. Have great one-liners.
They know the formula. They know what we're here
but
for.
Then Terry... No,
Terry is dead. Bond comes back to his hotel room and finds Paris dead and a news broadcast going like, Elliot Carver's wife has tragically died this morning. And then he's mourning her body. And then Bond hears on the TV. And also, she was found with a man in her hotel room.
That's great.
That's like out of a David Lynch movie.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden we're introduced to Vincent Schiavelli as Dr. Kaufman.
Yeah.
Yes.
My name is Dr. Kaufman. My art is in great demand, Mr. Bond.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, Vincent Schiavelli. I love you in Amadeus.
Yeah, we all love him in Amadeus.
Better Off Dead. Batman Returns.
Fast Times at Ridgemont High, right? Yeah.
I mean, he's the classic king where like he had like a condition that made his face look weird, but he totally used that to his advantage in movies. Like he's always like, I remember that guy. You know, like in Amadeus, he's only in it for like 30 seconds, and you're like, he lives rent free in my mind. Like,
He's there knocking on the door.
He's eating those donuts.
Yeah, I will eat all these and I'll never come and see you again.
Signore, you don't know what you're missing. That's the magic of Amadeus. Every single, like, even like background characters are memorable.
Well, Amadeus is one of the 4 perfect movies, listeners. One of
also,
them is
Tomorrow Never Dies.
Yeah. Tomorrow Never Dies and The World Is Not Enough.
Casino Royale 1967. Oh, wait, what were you saying?
But specifically, Vincent Schiavelli's performance for 5 minutes as Dr. Kaufman he lives rent-free in my mind, like Amadeus.
So fucking memorable.
One of the great henchmen.
And he's only in it for like half a scene.
Yeah, he's in it for barely a scene where he just explains, I'm going to stage your suicide.
But he's like funny and scary at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, what I love about this scene is the inevitability of it.
Yeah.
Like, Terry Hatcher tells it too. Like, when she goes to Bond, you can tell she feels like The Walking Dead. Then when she dies, the TV is like, this is going to happen. And then Kaufman's there like, this is going to happen. And it just, again, the shadow of death, the inevitability of death is everywhere.
And emotion.
What is death? What is myth?
Yeah. But then Bond flips the tables.
Well, they're trying to break into his car because Bond has stolen the GPS fuck-up device. And so Kaufman is about to shoot him from far away. And he's like, they'll never say it's a suicide if you shoot me from that far away. He's like, I am actually a forensic scientist and I can make it look like you shot yourself. So fuck you.
It won't look like a suicide if you shoot me from over there.
I am a professor of forensic medicine. I could shoot you from Stuttgart and still create the proper effect.
And then they figure out that they can't get into the car. So he goes like, I'm very embarrassed to ask you this, but can you open your car? And so,
look, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This was
out.
a great thing that we're having right now. I'm very embarrassed to ask you to open your car before I stage your suicide.
We have the hardest line delivery in James Bond history is this scene.
Yeah, he tricks
here.
Kaufman into shocking himself with the Sony Ericsson, and he points the gun at his face, and Kaufman goes like, I'm just a professional doing a job.
I'm just a professional doing a job.
And Pierce Brosnan goes like, Troy, take it away.
So am I.
You fucked up the line. You fucked up the line.
Then what?
Me too.
Me? What?
Me too.
Okay, fine. Me too.
Now I get to be the stickler.
All right, so now we get to the car chase.
So this is the range of James Bond, and why you know Pierce Brosnan's Bond is a total psycho is because he goes from Me Too, executing a man in cold blood, and then kissing Paris's corpse, the love of his life.
He's so unhinged.
Very awkward. And then he immediately goes to playing a Game Boy and like laughing at tires getting speeded up. And it's like, this man is not connected to reality.
Shut up. He's living his truth. He's living life at 100%.
I am what I am.
This car chase is one of the best action sequences in this entire series.
Yeah.
It's so silly, but it works.
I don't know how they've never thought of doing a car chase in a parking lot before.
That's Jan's biggest thing he loves about it.
It is a car that is being controlled by a phone.
Yeah, and like throughout all this, I mean, I don't really know how they did it, Jay. You like
oh yeah, no, I know how they did it.
I think they CGI'd him out.
No, they didn't CGI him out. I think he was controlling it from the front. He was laying on the ground and controlling it from the front.
So it has like
that
cameras
way.
in it or something?
Yeah, and there's like cameras so that he could see while he's driving.
Okay, because that's like the most impressive thing about it is like the skids, like it's not an empty parking garage. It is a full parking garage.
Yeah.
With not a lot of wiggle room for all these turns and spins and everything.
And for some reason they filled all those other cars with gas. Like they're all fully loaded. I don't know why, with the most flammable
but
gas.
It's so impressive. You follow perfectly what's going on. Every single like idea is better than the last one, and Pierce is just like laughing maniacally.
He's having so much fun.
Yeah. The rocket goes through the car and blows up the guys behind him.
That's
the little
great.
saw comes out and it's precisely at the height of the cable.
Yeah.
He just has such joie de vivre. He loves his job.
Joie de vivre.
Gesundheit.
No, there actually I'm right. It's not Joy Devi. That sounds like a fucking indie band.
I didn't say that.
No, it's Robert Davi.
Joy Davi is Robert Davi at night when he goes out clubbing.
That's his Colombian drug lord alter ego.
So when he puts on a wig and high heels, he turns into Joy Davi.
Oh, brother. He's going to come for us. That's what's going to get us sued. Not any of our comments about Bristol.
But it's okay because we're going to be in Daily Wire by that point.
Yeah, car goes all the way to the top. And then I have to admit, I think as a kid, I was dumb, and I was like, damn, they really shot that car across that street, but not quite, but it is pretty damn good. There's a lot of good stuff, in the way that that's assembled together with.
I mean, not so much the car jumping through the air and landing in the car return thing, which is a great gag.
And Avis!
But
And once again, trying to kill Q.
Yeah.
Q is right there. Oh, 007!
He's cleaning out the register.
Yeah. We need the Q edit where, like, at the end of the movie, he's just like in a full body cast.
It is a little sad that Desmond Llewellyn actually did die in a car accident.
Did he?
Oh, really?
He did. Yeah.
I thought he was just a billion.
He was very old, but he also got hit by a car in another car.
Oh, that's sad. It's not just that gag. It's Pierce Brosnan's reaction of him looking at his Game Boy and just happily like...
No, and then the car thanks him through the phone, going like, "Congratulations, you made it out safely. Thank you."
We completely skipped over the fact that much like Moneypenny and M are aware of Bond's sex life, Q gave the car a sexy woman voice so that James Bond would be a little responsible with it and not destroy it. But what Q doesn't
is he
know
hates
is
women.
Yeah, is that every single woman he loves dies. So does the car.
Not only do they die, but they die, and immediately after he's having a blast, like in a car chase. And this is exactly what happens with this car. He completely destroys it, and he's smiling.
Do all those dry martinis you drink, James, blot out the cries of all the women cars who crashed in Ava's car rental?
But anyway, this scene is fucking awesome. This is when you're like, this movie has the riz, has the sauce, whatever the kids say.
And now we got to get to Jack Wade.
Yeah, well, we get Jack Wade going, "Yo, Jimbo!
Yo, Jimbo! Wade, what the hell are you doing here?"
And another thing that made me very happy, James Bond is back in his Navy officer.
Yeah, he's back in the sailor suit.
Oh, yeah.
He is a commander, and rarely do we get him to see in his ocean suit. So I like whenever he's in his little Navy clothes. He looks cute in it. I like that John Don Baker's back. It's like good continuity, not like the Daniel Craig movies where it's just like dumb, bad continuity.
Yeah, it's like, you know who it is, and he's like, guess what? You got to do a Halo jump. And we're like, hello.
Yeah, another Mission Impossible inspiration thing.
Everyone was hyping up that Halo jump in Fallout, and I'm like, James Bond did it first.
Yeah.
We did it.
Almost everything in the Mission Impossible ones, as much as I like these movies, I'm like, it's like the Simpsons did it thing. It's like James Bond did it, and probably someone before James Bond did it, and James Bond is just copying.
Right, exactly.
It was actually Spencer Tracy.
Yeah, probably. It was Q.
Q did it.
And much like Fallout, they do the same thing where there's like a last minute twist right before he jumps, right? Where it's like, should we tell him?
Yeah, no, because they go like, when he's about to do the Halo jump, they're just like, wait a second, where is he going? If Vietnam catches him, we're in deep shit. How many American things is he wearing right now? Well, the helmet, the suit, the tank, and then Bond just jumps out, and they're like,
but there's like no problem. He does it perfectly, and like, I know that it's a high altitude, low opening, whatever jump, but it does seem like he opens the parachute too late and he just like slams into the water
and dies.
And I'm like, that should kill him. Like, that's just like concrete right there. Like,
that's just quick editing.
That's the most fantastical part of it, right? I mean, it's like going straight into scuba diving, right?
Yeah. Well, the scuba diving scene, I also like rolled my eyes over a little bit because I'm like, guys, how many times have we done this exact same fucking?
It would be cool cool, except we've seen at least 2 other better versions of that.
You're
scene,
right.
You know.
Really? I was watching Tomorrow Never Dies, and I'm like, are these the best scuba diving scenes?
No.
I mean,
we used to have a shark going through a doorway that was bonking on him, and they were fighting a shark in a doorway. That was the good shit.
But there's one good moment where Wei Lin comes into the ship as Bond's investigating it when they're scuba diving, and then Bond rips out her air mask, and then she's just like, ah! And then he just wags his finger at her.
Again, that was another moment there. I was like, what did he mean by that?
Naughty.
It's like, don't sneak up on me. I might kill you.
He's a psycho, Jan. Pierce Brosnan's James Bond is a psycho. He'll do whatever he wants.
Do they think they're like trying to set up the breathing air back to her, I guess?
I think so.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that.
I guess.
They're like, full circle.
But then, like, there's like a cool, like, tense scene where like they have to go like an escape pipe thing when the ship is sinking. I mean, it is pretty cool, but at the same time, I'm just thinking like, I mean, you gotta suspend your disbelief in these movies, but this one is one of the few times where I'm just like, you can literally just like take your oxygen tank off, but still like hold it up. Like you don't need to completely take it off.
Well, that's like a well-known thing, right? Where you detach from it.
Yeah.
And also, I'm like, they're dead. They have the bends now, right?
And then they get onto a helicopter afterward. I'm like, oh
yeah, no, the change in pressure would like create a bubble in your bloodstream and kill you.
I guess that explains Pierce Brosnan's addled.
That's maybe that's why he says the Oedipus thing. He's just going through like
the Oedipus line was just a piece of mercury, like
it was a piece of like air pressure decompression bubble going through his brain.
So basically, he had a mini stroke.
Yeah, and the rest of the movie is just like a dying fantasy.
Well, every James Bond movie is a dying fantasy.
For sure. I still sustain. He actually died in You Only Live Twice, and the rest of the movies have just been like some sort of fever dream fantasy.
That's why they're all so outlandish, not like the grounded first 4.5 James Bond movies.
And that's why he keeps getting younger.
Yeah.
Well, he keeps getting older and then younger.
All right, we got to get to Ho Chi Minh City, because they get to Ho Chi Minh City, and they get to the Carver building with the giant Jonathan Pryce thing.
Pierce looks great in that shirt. Again, just like confident, drunk, idiot man walking around Vietnam. I love it.
They come into the building and he's writing their obituaries with his little keyboard on the giant screen and going like, a British commander and a Chinese colonel dead in the South China Sea.
British Secret Service agent James Bond and his collaborator Wei Lin were found dead this morning in Vietnam. Lacks punch, don't you think?
I love how his fingers just sail over it. I'm curious if he was actually typing, because he has this very unique way of typing where he's like, oh yes.
He's so furious as he's typing. He's just like,
yeah. And like, I think this is like, out of all the James Bond villain scenes where they explain their evil plan, this is the fucking funniest one ever. Because it's like, there's this guy that's like crucial to this plan called General Chang.
Yeah, who we barely see. For one shot, we see him.
They had to include like an ADR line of Michelle Yeoh turning around, and she goes like, General Chang. And then she keeps walking forward.
Wait, does he explain it in this scene, or is that later?
That's later when he explains.
Yeah, I don't think he even explains. We don't even learn his plan until like the last 20 minutes of the movie.
It's so funny because it's, well, first there's this newspaper heading in giant letters in a monitor that says, "The Empire will strike back."
I like that one, not one of mine, but I like it.
Jonathan Pryce says like, I didn't even come up with this one.
I rather like the last one. It isn't even mine.
And we're like, no, George Lucas did. Like, what kind of line is that?
No, it's a reference to an actual headline for the Falklands War. When Britain and Argentina went to war over the Falklands, there was a famous newspaper headline that said, "The Empire strikes back."
Oh.
So that's actually a British publishing history.
Well, it just, the fact that he had to say that he didn't come up with this title made me laugh a lot, because it's like, we know. Like,
Kevin McClory came up with that.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
No, Kevin McClory did. Don't worry, Kevin. We got you covered.
Can we talk about the torture knives?
Yeah, he's got like Dead Ringer's tools.
Yeah,
I will
that's
say,
awesome.
It's like Elliot Carver is so strong that like they kind of try to give him the henchman a thing, but like it doesn't really matter, you know.
One of the worst
It's like,
fucking
just
henchmen.
get him outta
Like
here.
What? You don't like Stamper?
fucking
I'm with Jake.
unmemorable, useless nothing
He
guy.
gets the job done. He can punch.
He's there at the end, and you've forgotten he was there in the rest of the movie.
No,
No,
I
you
love
haven't.
Stamper, especially at the end.
Yeah.
Paul, you got my back.
Yeah, I mean,
Come on.
Well, you know, when he's like fighting Bond and he's like
Carver
grimacing
gets
and
chewed
shit.
up in the drill spoilers, and then you're like, oh, we're not done. Oh, you know.
No, that's the James
Yeah.
Bond tradition. The
Yeah.
henchman goes after guys. This is how it works.
He's like Jaws, but like a boring version.
No, he's like Red Grant, but interesting.
Yeah, he's so fun. And then you find out that Dr. Kaufman is his mentor.
Oh yeah, he's like a father to him.
Yeah, he was like a father to him, and he's really mad about Bond shooting him in the face. And so he's gonna fuck with his balls.
Yeah, he's gonna fuck with his balls. He's gonna rip his heart out. That's
Gonna
great.
fuck with your nuts.
Yeah.
I'm gonna fuck with your nuts.
These are my boys. They're always with me.
These are my tools from Dead Ringers. I always have them with me. Anyway.
You can't kill Dr. Kaufman. Not anymore.
These are my tools from Dead Ringers. I suggest not messing with them. Their knives trap the souls of their enemies.
Wait, yeah, how does he get his hand on one of the tools and he throws it at someone, right?
He throws it at Stamper's leg, you know, because he kicks the tool thing over and then distracts all the guards and then starts beating him up. And then he grabs one of the tools and throws it at Stamper.
And they escape. And then classic action shtick. They're handcuffed together.
Yes, they have to jump off a building.
This is all amazing. As much as I like GoldenEye, I don't know if there's any action sequences that's rad at this whole thing.
And it's
like,
it like almost rivals an Indiana Jones movie at this point of like
just like the classic action, like building on top of each other, like the hat on a hat on a hat.
And you're not just having an action scene where Bond has to figure out a thing. It's like, no, he's got to figure out how to ride a motorcycle with this other agent handcuffed to him.
They gotta have their arms in a different thing. They have to steer together.
There's like an arc that their relationship goes through in that scene where they're like yelling at each other like, I'm driving, who's driving?
Oh, it's the backseat driver. The backseat driver from the opening. He's like backseat drivers, but then James Bond becomes a backseat driver in the parking garage. And then Michelle Yeoh becomes a backseat driver on the motorcycle.
That's true.
It's a through line.
Backseat driver myth.
Yes, the myth of the backseat driver.
No, I think there's some credence to that, but what I'm saying is like it starts out with them like driving and they're yelling at each other, and then she has to get in front of him in like a sexual pose on the motorcycle, and she's like, don't get any ideas.
Classic gags.
And then in the midpoint, they're figuring out how to maneuver the motorcycle together. Like she's getting in charge of the clutch, and then like when they need to look out to see where the helicopter is, then she figures out, okay, I get in front of him, and they're working off each other, and it goes from this antagonistic thing to now they're just like, okay, now I gotta do my thing in the front, now I gotta do the clutch.
This whole motorcycle action sequence is like, it's some of the best motorcycle action I've seen in a Western action film. It's so fucking sick, so sleekly edited, directed. The ideas are awesome. Also, why did it take them so long to realize that James Gunn with a machine gun is
James
awesome?
Bond with James Gunn with a machine gun?
we'll rename him to James Gunn.
Well, when he has a gun, he becomes James Gunn.
But come on, like Pierce Brosnan just with a machine gun. Well, like what's a better image
Well, because
than
it's
that?
like 90s overkill, right? I would almost argue it wasn't until we got to the age of like video games that like machine guns became seen as heroic. Because in View to a Kill, that's part of the horror is like, oh my God, he has a machine gun. He's not a gentlemanly pistol man.
Well, I mean, they're kind of scary here too with shooting the sailors in the water, but whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
We've gotten a lot of James Gunn. We've gotten a lot of James Bond movies where he's like trying to be subtle and spy and slick, and Pierce is like, "Fuck that," and he grabs a machine gun and starts killing everyone.
I love how he looks when right before the motorcycle chase, when they go outside the office and he's in the office with the machine gun. He's not even looking half the time he's firing that machine gun off. He's just wildly firing in the general direction of other people, which is great. Two things about the motorcycle chase with Roger Spottiswoode. One, he did not tell Pierce Brosnan or Michelle Yeoh who would be on front at first during the motorcycle until the day of, to keep the reactions real of, where am I supposed to go? And the second thing...
That sounds like not safe.
No, it wasn't. They were very mad about it. And the other thing, oh my God, the one part of the motorcycle chase, besides the whole, oh my God, one part, but when they're driving along the balcony and it's collapsing
and all the balconies
under
are
them,
collapsing.
oh my God, it looks so cool. Like, again, I don't watch these movies for the action. I watch them for the character study.
You're the only person. You're the only person on Earth.
But even I have to be like, oh my God, look at the balcony.
And there's good character development, it's somewhat development, but it's like there's some
characterization
on the motorcycles. Yeah, exactly. So now they're showering.
It is a little weird that there's these two like godly looking like perfect people just showering in the middle of Vietnam, and the Ho Chi Minh residents are just like going through business as usual, you know?
Two hot people in the street getting wet.
Yeah, what's she gonna do? She tries to drop him. This is the kind of thing where maybe if you had more of a Catwoman performance, it might have helped a little bit. It's a little weird. He's like, I'm done with you. Oh, I found you again, and that's just like, oh,
no,
okay.
but it's great because when it's General Chang's men are now like trying to kill her, and there's guards out in front, and like Bond like immediately punches like a guy with the cell phone.
Well, I was going to talk about, we've come a long way from Roger Moore's sleight of hand to Pierce being like, can you give me a light?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I love that. No. You didn't describe it like. Here's what actually happens.
You didn't do it well enough, Paul. We're being real sticklers in this one.
No, because the way it happens is like I laugh my ass off at it every time.
It's almost a Dr. Hibbert anyway. Go ahead.
I was gonna say no. Wait, real quick. He does the Dr. Hibbert sucker punch.
Bleep sound.
Jake has an aneurysm.
He walks up to the guy. The guy has a cigarette, and he asks Bond, like, do you have a light? And Bond just minds taking out a lighter, covers his hands, and then he like does like a magic trick, like jazz hands in front of the guy and startles him and then punches him in the face.
That's not how it happened. He held up a picture portrait up to Hugo and then he punched him in the face.
That's not how it happened. Mr. Body was shot in the front room, and then they went into the kitchen to kill the maid. But of course, the motorist was in the library.
Why are our most unhinged episodes the ones where we all agree that the movie's good?
And they all involve like boats.
Well, no, it's because we're real nerds, Jan, and real nerds know the problem isn't when people dislike things you like. It's when they like the things you like for the wrong reasons.
Or they don't remember the frame by frame.
Yes, that's the real insult.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he gets in here, and yet again, because I think this kind of happened with Tiger Tanaka, right?
Yeah.
And it happened in I think it happened in Man with the Golden Gun as well, where it's like, oh, there's a second cue.
Yeah, there's like another cue scene.
Great.
But this one is somehow even funnier than the first cue scene. He like leans on a thing and he goes, ah!
Yeah. And then he's like laughing. He does like a Clouseau performance there.
Yeah.
He lands on the thing and he's just like, ha ha ha, that's great.
Visible to radar, but not the human eye. Very novel.
I'm telling you, I can't believe this isn't a James Bond parody. It's like this close from being a parody. Like
no, it is. It's really skirting the line.
He's such a dumbass. I love it.
Oh, and then he has the fan, and it shoots out like the lines and stuff, and he's just like, I've always been a fan of Chinese technology.
I've always been a fan of Chinese technology.
You know what it reminded me of? Know that scene in Wayne's World where they're not doing market product? It's like, we would never sell out our ideas for market placement. Not like the cool, refreshing taste of Pepsi. That's basically with him with the gadgets. It's like, and what does this do? Oh, and how about this one?
But Bond gets he finally trades up his Walther PPK that only one person in the world uses, or three, who knows? Oh, it might be standard issue, it might not be, but he gets out what will become a staple the next couple movies, the Walther P99. And he's like, ooh, the new Walther. I've been asking Q to get me one of these.
Q wouldn't get it for him for Christmas.
Right.
Wait, when do they kill the guy? Like, there's one extra guy who, in the middle of the briefing, they just, like, pull a lever.
And it shoots out like a sock'em bopper at him.
Yes.
Soccer bopper, more fun than a pillow fight.
That's great. I love that.
Something like that.
I love this scene, but the next scene where they're on the little like canoe thing, heading towards the climax. This is one of the other scenes where I'm like, this dialogue is like, it feels like a dialogue from like a dream.
I was gonna say,
know?
I was thinking of you, Jen, where their beautiful flirting, where we finally get the romance because he says,
it makes no sense.
And they say communists don't know how to have fun. And she says, sorry to disappoint you, but I don't even have a little red book.
Yes.
You get to sail on a beautiful evening like this. I sometimes work with a decadent agent of a corrupt Western power.
They say communists don't know how to have fun.
I hate to disappoint you, but I don't even have a little red book.
Yeah, I'm like, this is that kind of dialogue where like it seems like they're having two completely different conversations. Like nothing that one person says leads to what the other person says. She goes, sometimes you get to work with Western decadent agents. And I'm like, okay. Yeah. And they say communists don't know how to have fun. What? I don't even have a red book. And I'm like, what does any of this, like, what are you talking about?
I like how in the trailer they re-edit it where after that line he goes, sounds like you found the right decadent agent. Because that would make sense for that to be a response to that line. But in the movie, there's like 20 seconds of conversation in between those two lines.
Yeah, it's just pure nonsense.
Yeah, I was just like, this is not dialogue. This is just words. And
which I love.
I have a problem with Lisa. What? She says that I hit her. What? It's not true. Don't even ask. Anyway, what's new with you?
It feels like that. And I'm also like, does the red book thing mean that like, oh, I'm not even a communist? I'm like, you're literally an agent for like the Chinese government.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
How are you not a communist?
I felt watching this movie that like GoldenEye was them getting over their breakup with Soviet Union. Like Soviet Union's gone. We can't use it anymore. It's very sad. And then this movie
they're trying to do like A Spy Who Loved Me with China.
Yeah, it's like, does China fill the same void? Can China be our new Soviet Union?
Well, they're still trying to make it happen. They're still trying to make fetch happen.
Yeah, even in real life.
Yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's in real life.
It's sad that like every issue in this movie is still like an actual like political concern.
And then Carver starts shooting off the missiles once again, trying to provoke a battle. I'll say this may be the high watermark for military men on boat is this sequence because it's tense. There are missiles, and we get, at least for one close up, the wonderful Hugh Bonneville of Downton Abbey and Paddington fame.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Wait, is he in this?
Yeah, he's one of the sailors.
And Gerard Butler.
There's like one shot of him.
Oh man, I missed him.
We brought up that he was in the movie 2 hours ago.
Yeah, Google him right now because I love Hugh Bonneville.
He's a great guy.
There's definitely one guy that, well, whatever. No, I'm not bringing it up.
No, I think there's a couple like familiar British thespians in that scene, but
oh my god, he looks exactly the same as he does now. How the fuck did I miss him?
He never aged.
He still has those like rouge lips and those like rosy cheeks.
Cannot take in strange bears.
And who else is the bear but Q himself, Ben Whishaw?
That's true.
That's true.
The bear is Jeremy White Allen, Troy.
Jan, that show's already been canceled by the time this episode's dropped.
What year is this anyway? So Carver's scheming. Oh, I think this is before they break in, where he has another beautiful line, something along the lines of, "Oh, Bond is headed to the bottom of the South China Sea. He's my new anchor man."
Commander Bond, who is, I believe, at this moment on his way to the bottom of the South China Sea. He's my new anchor man.
Yes.
No, he's on fire here, and then he mimics kung fu
to mock Wei Lin.
The kung fu scene is when I decided this is the best villain so far. He's just like, what is happening? This is incredible.
He's completely. if he wasn't far gone already, he's like completely like batshit insane.
Yeah, and again, like I feel like this is when like he's at his most pathetic and desperate.
Yeah, pathetic.
So he's just resorting to complete like racist childishness.
But he is angry, but he is very calm, like as Paul brought up, and you brought up earlier, actually, Jan, when he's explaining his plot to Wei Lin, he's so calm about it. He's like,
that's what's funny to me.
Yeah.
And also, like, the evil plan itself is really funny to me because he's like, I'm gonna help this, like, corrupt Chinese general to do a war, like, between China and the West.
No, he's gonna do a coup. Because he's going to wipe out the high command of China. And then he's going to cool down the tensions between China and the UK and win the Nobel Peace Prize. And in return, Carver gets exclusive broadcasting rights in China for 100 years.
Well, that's my point. It's like there's this evil Chinese general that's going to do all these horrible things. And you're like, oh, what are you going to do? He's like, get broadcasting rights in China. And you're like, the other guy sounds like worse.
I know, but that's what makes it so funny.
Exactly, yeah. It's like, our main villain is just a guy that wants broadcasting rights.
No, but he has a god complex, because remember, he's like...
no, an Oedipus complex.
An Oedipus complex.
No, yeah, right. But he's like, Caesar at his legions, Napoleon at his armies. I have my publications and my satellites and all these employees with my magazines. I will have more overreach than God, and the best he could manage was a Sermon on the Mount.
But it just confirms that movie James Bond is woke based as fuck.
Woke
because that we have two villains to decide who's the worst: an evil like communist Chinese general or an evil capitalist, and he goes for the capital.
Yeah. He's like, I gotta kill that one.
He's like, this guy's annoying. Fuck him.
We don't even get a line that says that we've arrested General Chang. He's just like, oh, they forgot about him.
They forget about it. He's like, oh, he can do his coup. I don't care. This guy was just really getting on my nerves. Like, which makes sense. Like, if you had Xi Jinping and Elon Musk in front of you, who would you go after? The answer's obvious.
Yeah, I know who's my problem.
Yes. We're all avid Twitter users. We know who bothers us more.
No comment. But they slink into the boat. They're shooting people.
Have we gotten to the Ricky Jay standoff yet?
Ricky Jay gets shot. The end.
That's a wonderful sentence.
It's great because the guy tries to sneak up on James Bond with his machine gun, and he like shoots him, and he's like, "Sorry, Elliot, I tuned out for a second."
Sorry about that. I tuned out there for a moment, Elliot.
I love that we're watching a James Bond movie and you just used the phrase, have we gotten to the Ricky Jay standoff?
That's a sign that we've gotten somewhere very special.
Yeah, so he's holding Ricky Jay hostage in return for Wei Lin. And then Carver goes like, did you set up the missile? He's like, yeah, it's all done. You don't need me anymore. And he goes like, then I'm afraid you've fulfilled your contract. And then he shoots Ricky Jay.
And then James Bond's like, crap.
Big shootout. Now we got to get to Carver's death because it's hilarious.
Well, before Carver's death, I have to know, Jake, in the middle of this big shootout, you got to play the audio from this. There is a shot where Michelle Yeoh is shooting a control panel, blowing up a control panel, and twice back to back is the pottery breaking sound effect.
I wrote like, this has the stock like punching Avid sound effects and the pottery one. It's like, it's such a low effort movie.
I know, it's so great.
For a control panel that is metal and glass, you're hearing a pottery breaking sound.
Like, I'm telling you, I cannot believe this is not a James Bond parody, but I'm saying that as like a compliment.
Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, this is the good stuff. Anyway, so now to the death.
One of the greatest Bond villain death scenes of all time,
well,
hands
yeah, it's
down.
pretty great.
It's amazing. Because I'm like, who's gonna get it the worst, like, out of any of these fuckers? Is the fucking, like, newspaper baron. It's so horrifying.
They have that giant buzzsaw that they use to cut a hole in the ship in the beginning of the movie. Bond turns it on as Carver's monologuing, and it comes straight towards them, and he holds them in front, and he goes like, "You forgot the most important rule of mass media, Elliot. Give the people what they want."
You forgot the first rule of mass media, Elliot. Give the people what they want.
He just shoves him in front of the buzzsaw, and he gets fucking
like,
sawed.
Does James Bond know that he's being watched? Like, does he know that he's the protagonist? Is he like Deadpool? Like, does he know that he's the protagonist?
He's the protagonist of this operation.
I think Pierce Brosnan's Bond has a complete psychotic break where he knows he's a fictional character and that he can never die. So everyone else is just like a toy to him.
Yeah, we're getting into Charlie Kaufman territory here.
Well, you can actually feel like the hatred, and it's not really hatred because of of Paris dying. It is just that he's so annoyed with this man. He plays it more so like, I just want to kill you because I am annoyed with you.
I wish they made it more explicit that he was getting revenge for Paris, because in some ways Tomorrow Never Dies, like, I don't know, to me it plays as like the revenge for Tracy. It's like, let him get he gets his revenge against the guy who killed the woman he loved in like a very satisfying, like, brutal way.
We had that a few times, but yeah.
I wasn't thinking about it. I just liked seeing Jonathan Pryce get turned into guacamole.
It's fun. It's funny to see him flailing and not even trying to run. Last shot.
It's my favorite since Dr. Kananga, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe Casino Royale 1967.
Where he burps and the world ends, or what?
Yes.
That's obviously the best, yeah.
Casino Royale. I feel villain deaths, I'm very rarely underwhelmed by a villain death in a Bond movie. They're normally all like pretty
usually
good.
pretty A+, especially in these Brosnan movies.
But wait, in the video game, when Carver survived just long enough to say, "Tomorrow never dies."
Tomorrow never dies.
And I'm like, okay.
That makes no sense.
It's the title of the movie.
Is he exclaiming that his newspaper Tomorrow will never die after he dies?
I guess.
But who gives a shit about this newspaper?
He loves journalism.
I don't know. He really cared about his Declaration of Principles. Imagine if Citizen Kane ended with Joseph Cotton shoving Orson Welles into a buzzsaw.
That would be pretty lit.
And then he said Rosebud as he got sawed to death.
I wonder what he meant by that.
Well, I've heard that like some people were like cheering, hooting on, hollering at the movie theater, and like it makes sense because this mid-90s, this was when Rupert Murdoch was like consolidating everything
and
media-wise.
Ted Turner was consolidating.
And Ted Turner, so it was probably satisfying to see this.
Actually, this is funny because he was definitely inspired by those guys, but he was mostly inspired by a British tycoon known as Robert Maxwell.
Yes.
And Robert Maxwell, in the 90s, his company was going under and he was embezzling pension funds. And then he mysteriously committed suicide off of the Canary Islands on his yacht. And they found his body washed ashore. So then at the end of the movie, when M goes like, say that Elliot Carver committed suicide off his yacht in the South China Sea.
Moneypenny, take this release. Elliot Carver is missing, presumed drowned, while on a cruise aboard his luxury yacht in the South China Sea. At present, the local authorities believe the media mogul committed suicide.
That is a reference to that man.
Oh, I thought it was just like a throwing like back at his face that he wanted to stage Bond's murder as a suicide.
It is, but it's also a specific reference to Robert Maxwell.
So that Rupert Murdoch wouldn't sue them, probably, for being like...
Probably.
Oh, wait, did we talk about how Stamper died?
Yeah, no, we're talking about it now. We get
this... Oh, we are? On a podcast?
Yeah, I don't get why you guys hate Stamper, because this fight scene is so much fun.
Because he's completely unmemorable.
I love Stamper.
I don't hate him.
He's committing 110%. He has such joy in being a crazy evil guy.
Well, when he was like holding Michelle Yeoh and he was like, I want revenge, I was like, Who are you?
No, but he's like fucking crazy and he's making all these weird faces and then Bond's stabbing him in the arm and he's like smiling and he's getting stabbed in the chest and he's like,
No, I don't mind the scene. The character is fucking weak sauce.
Originally, it was going to be explicitly said that in addition to making snuff films on the side, this character also would have a condition where he gains pleasure from pain.
Are you talking about James Bond?
No, I'm talking about Stamper, the guy he's fighting.
It makes more sense if it's James Bond.
James Bond fights himself every day, but in this particular case, I'm talking about this other guy.
I also love how pathetic his revenge mission fight scene with James Bond gets, because it goes like, I'm going to kill you, James Bond, and then Bond like crushes his foot on the rocket, and then he like gives up and goes like, now we're gonna die together, Mr. Bond.
Oh yeah.
Like each time he tries to get revenge, it's just like more and more pathetic.
Yeah.
Pathetic.
But again, like Michelle Yeoh not doing anything here, and I'm like, why?
Well, she's drowning. Yeah.
Have you seen her do karate? Fucking use her.
Yeah. The way he gets out of this is also slightly implausible.
Slightly. Are you implying that this franchise would not happen in real life?
Look, if an ICBM is detonating directly above you, just swim down a little bit and you'll be fine.
Right.
Hold your breath for like 20 seconds and it's all chill, baby.
And then he gives her the kiss of life, I guess.
Underwater. So I don't know how they're not just guzzling water.
Yeah,
while
and then they
do
start making out, and it's just like, oh, I guess this was a romantic relationship. Okay. And then the movie ends.
Right.
Then we get a pretty good end credits song, like we've mentioned, and it says, in the loving memory of Cubby Broccoli, this is science fact. And I shed a tear.
I am so happy that it wasn't like a Cocaine Bear situation where it's like in loving memory of Cubby Broccoli and it's like the most embarrassing thing you've ever seen.
Wait, what happens in Cocaine Bear?
Oh, in Cocaine Bear,
this movie that hasn't come out yet.
But I predict that there's a movie called Cocaine Bear and Ray Liotta gets eaten by bears. And then it says, in loving memory of Ray Liotta.
Well, look, certain YouTubers may have edited it to make it look like it's back to back. It's not quite.
But it's not quite like
actually
that.
Back to back. But that is in the credits of the movie.
It is in the credits, but it comes sometime after he gets eaten by baby bears.
Holy shit! They gave a tribute to Ray Liotta. That's fucking awesome.
So I'm just saying, if they just showed like Cubby Broccoli like being eaten by bears.
Wait. What do we think? What do we think No Time to Die will be? Will it be a good movie with Sean Connery and Roger Moore's names after the credit?
Oh, I think it'll be wonderful, beautiful.
Now I want to give a loving tribute to Ray Liotta in any movie.
It's in loving memory to Ray Liotta is the new dedicated to the
Mujahideen Fighters.
In loving memory of the brave fighters of the Mujahideen and Cubby Broccoli.
And also
Ray
dedicated
Liotta.
to Ray Liotta. And to the brave Mujahideen fighters and the memory of Ray Liotta and the memory of Cubby Broccoli.
Every movie needs to end with a montage of Ray Liotta, Cubby Broccoli, and Osama bin Laden.
Oh no! Jake's on the floor. This is what gets Jake on the floor. Boy.
Let's please funnel vote, please.
Guys, we've been doing this for 3 hours and 11 minutes.
Okay, yeah, we gotta do final thoughts. Yeah. Okay, Troy, you go first, please.
All right. Tomorrow Never Dies. Definitely one of the most underrated of the Bond movies. Definitely one of the darkest before the Craig era, I would say.
Why?
Because of the whole Paris Carver subplot.
Because she dies.
No,
but that's
it's not because she dies.
A blink and you miss it moment.
Right, and they don't address it really later.
Okay. Paris Carver's subplot. Yes, on one level, you could see it as a very cynical psycho thing where it's like, oh, you thought this was the Bond girl. Psych! She isn't. And yes, it is that. But look at it this way with the Pierce Brosnan movies, it's like that different element of regret. Like, what is he regretting this movie? And in this film, it's the lost love. And there's something just very tragic about this woman who had her heart broken by James Bond, threw herself into this relationship with this evil guy who's married to her but kind of owns her, realizes she's trapped, gives herself up to James Bond once again in order to help him save the day because she knows it's morally right, is tortured to death off screen, and then all we get is a little half kiss of her corpse, and then James Bond never acknowledges her again. It is so brutal and so sad. And just, again, it is what defines Pierce Brosnan's James Bond to me, is that he's capable of this. And that he immediately goes
he
to
chooses not to engage.
He's playing a remote control car with like a Nintendo DS, like right afterwards. I'm like, oh my God. And that is both the movie's biggest strength, in that it's what I find very interesting, but also its biggest weakness, because I feel the second half is not as... The second half is great action, and in some of my favorite action in the whole series, but it's not as emotionally interesting as the first half, because it doesn't really deal with the fallout of that. But keeping that in mind, I think this is a solid Bond movie. It is so underrated. This is better than GoldenEye in my book. This is in my top 10 favorite James Bond films. If you want a fun action romp that is at the same time super depressing, aka James Bond, you can't go wrong with Tomorrow Never Dies. 8 out of 10, 4 out of 5. The hair. The cut here isn't as bad as I remembered. It's not as good as last time. It's a little too businessy, particularly at the beginning. But you know, it's clean. What did I give the hair last time? A 10 out of 10?
We all gave it a 10.
I think I have to give this one an 8. It's a little short for me, but I quite like it.
That's harsh. That's harsh.
That is harsh.
I know, but harsh but fair.
I'll go next. The hair's a 10 out of 10. Get the fuck out of here, boy. Good hair. Very, very good hair. I will once again agree with Troy that this is one of the best James Bond movies, and that it's underrated, and that it's in the top 10, and that it's fun as fuck. But I will also once again disagree with him as to what makes this one good.
People have fought wars of religion over this.
As you all know, if we're not talking about Casino Royale, if you watch these movies for like character arcs and stuff like that, they're not very good. Like, if you're watching them for a fun, breezy watch that's awesome action and good one-liners and great ideas, these are the movies for you. And this movie is that. It has all of that in spades. It has idea over idea over idea in these action sequences. It keeps mounting on each other. It's great. It's got the greatest Bond villain so far, as we've mentioned. Piers is 1,000% like formed in this already. He's unhinged. He's so delightfully moronic, and I love him. He's my spirit animal, etc., etc. I do think, very much like GoldenEye, that the second half, where it gets going and it gets more fast-paced and tight, is much better than the first half, which the first half's not bad, but it is a lot of setup that we have to get through. And no, I don't think that this movie's like dark or depressing. I actually think the opposite. I think this movie's very light and breezy. And I really like it because of it, not despite of that. So maybe in my camp, not quite as good as GoldenEye, but it's pretty comparable to it. I recognize that my GoldenEye thing is a lot of it's nostalgia, but you know, if you say that this is better than GoldenEye, I won't get angry at you. This is on the same level. I think this is a terrific.
What did you say? I won't what you?
I won't get angry at you.
Oh, okay. I heard something else.
You're here.
Troy once again.
I can't repeat
hearing
it.
what he wants to hear.
I won't you.
No, I heard something that started with a G and in the middle had ang, and something
I
else.
I won't do gooning with you.
Move on.
So this movie is on the same level of just fun, breezy James Bond movies that I really fucking enjoy watching. You know, GoldenEye, Octopussy, You Only Live Twice. I'm gonna give it 7.5 out of 10. Really love it.
Very nice. Very nice.
The end.
Very nice.
The end.
Very nice.
Yeah, I'm mostly in agreement with Jan. I also agree with Troy in the fact that it's in my top 10 possibly favorite Bond movies. I don't think it's
Possibly.
like
Possibly.
Paul's so like amazed that we're finally getting to like good movies.
It's just so insane to me though, where they're like, it might be on the top 50% of the series. You know?
But anyway, like Jan, I don't agree with Troy about it being the darkest of the Pierce Brosnan movies. If anything, this is probably the lightest.
I agree.
It's extremely fast paced. So yeah, when you even get like those moments of tragedy, you're not really thinking about it, and the movie doesn't dwell on it, and it doesn't matter because all the action scenes are a ton of fun, super fast paced and well choreographed and well shot. Pierce Brosnan is operating at 100% as usual. He was already operating at 100% in GoldenEye. Nothing has changed here.
Mm-hmm. I think he's even a little more in this, but
maybe an argument could be made for that.
just his one-liners are so psychotic.
Oh yeah, he's just every line's a potential one-liner. He does not let any of them go.
Yeah, and he says most of them well, even the ones that don't make any sense. Elliot Carver is anyone who thinks he's a bad Bond villain or an annoying character, go fuck yourself. I actually read on Reddit.
I'll do gooning with him.
Oh, on Reddit today, somebody was posting about how he's the most annoying Bond villain. And
Damn
I'm like,
you, Reddit!
And apparently
wrong.
Calvin Dyson in his Tomorrow Never Dies review, he's apparently like, why does he underplay it so much?
What?
And I'm like,
What? That's just objectively false.
Calvin, you'll have to come on the podcast and defend your thoughts.
What are you talking about? He's so over the top. He's fucking great. Yeah, this movie is not as ambitious as GoldenEye, but it doesn't need to be. It is the best version of a Roger Moore James Bond movie. Like, Roger Moore James Bond movies are supposed to be like fun, breezy, you don't think about it, and it's a nice 2-hour distraction. And this is exactly that. I give this one 4 out of 5. Fucking love this movie. The hair. The hair is a little bit shorter than the last time. It doesn't have that coif, but it's still Pierce Brosnan's hair, and it looks fucking amazing, and it's a 10 out of 10. I would be insane to not give it a 10 out of 10. I like it, even when it's shorter. I like it. Actually, I do prefer it when it's shorter. I said on the last one, I like it when it's shorter.
You know what I noticed? Like, freckles in his forehead are starting to develop. Maybe we could rank those.
Oh, maybe. Well,
wait,
the
you found an
Irishness is coming
imperfection
through.
in Pierce Brosnan?
Food for
Pulling
thought.
out the microscope. Well, we'll consider that. When I notice them, maybe we'll be able to rate them. But obviously,
I'm proposing the motion to the council.
Guys, I'm noticing a bulge. Maybe we could rate the bulge.
In his penis?
Yeah, in his penis.
That's a penis, right?
Wait, no. Oh my God, he needs to get that checked.
Let's rate his cock. Fuck
We're
it.
shutting this down because obviously the answer to all of this and more
It's 10 out of 10.
It's a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Looks great. You know, look, he could even trim it back a little shorter and it still look good. Whatever.
No.
What is airstrip?
What?
Because we're talking about his cock and balls.
No.
That was a Tomorrow Never Dies level, like, one-liner. We were all like, huh?
What?
And much like Tomorrow Never
Sorry, I'm
Dies, I'm still
delirious
laughing
right now.
at it. It took me a second, but now I'm
Took you a
chuckling.
second. It's the gift that keeps on giving.
I'm still waiting for the Oedipus complex gag to just land on me like a ton of bricks and be like, oh.
The second you stop recording, Jan, it's going to hit you.
Yeah.
That'll be the last
you
thought
go.
as you're like dying in a hospital room at a ripe old age. You're gonna be like, I get it.
Gonna be like Danny DeVito crying. I get it.
And your family will think you've converted to Christianity, but actually you will have just understood a one-liner in the most forgettable Pierce Brosnan James Bond movie.
Anyway, all the Pierce top to bottom, 10 out of 10, obviously. I'll reiterate, this is the movie that you make when you know you've cracked James Bond.
Yeah.
Because usually it's always a course correction. It's like, oh, can he be a little more like this? Can he be a little more like, oh, he's too scary. Oh, he's whatever. Literally everybody's like, he's good. Don't touch him. So I think in a lot of ways he gets the least attention in this movie, which may be why you end up with like probably not intentional, like psychotic, like when you put scenes together, but whatever, because he's rock solid. And I think even in those earlier bits, I think they withhold him a little more because they know they got an ace up their sleeve, in pre-title and after that, there's a little more like, you want him, don't you? This is definitely less ambitious than GoldenEye. They're not feigning deconstruction or anything, but everything is more refined. This does feel more with the time, although it's a relatively minor difference, but it definitely feels like a late 90s movie, and GoldenEye is more of an early 90s movie.
Yeah.
They're still pretty similar, I think.
They're pretty similar, but I think, again, my boy Ellsworth, I'm sure, it was a massive clusterfuck. They were rushing and everything, but it still looks tight.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't even mention, like, the score. It's got, like, Moby-style beats, which is pretty funny.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
this is David Arnold's first Bond movie.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
I mean, it wasn't a motorcycle going over a collapsing balcony good, but...
Well, no. I mean, action is obviously insane. Obviously, this is the nonstop action extravaganza. Michelle Yeoh is not really there for the romance. She's there to do the action, and it completely achieves what it sets out to do. I think it definitely holds its own next to GoldenEye. I'll chew on which one I like more. Also, shout out to Lucas, because this is another one I watched with him in Munich. And that was funny because
who the fuck is Lucas?
Yeah, George Lucas?
George Lucas. No,
you
no.
Watched
homeboy
Munich with George Lucas?
When I watched it with him, he had never seen it in English, because Germans always watch dubs.
Oh.
And so he was like, oh, wait, they're speaking German.
No, but seriously, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah, I don't know.
The exchange partner I referenced in a previous episode.
Yes, Paul used to live in Germany from 1933
to
that's 1945.
Anyway, Pierce is the gift that keeps on giving, and he's going to give us a few more.
No, we got 2 more.
Whoa!
Until his career was tragically cut short. But we got next week.
Wait, did Paul give his rating?
Oh, yeah, what is your rating?
Oh, well, I said it holds its own with GoldenEye, so it's like an 8 out of 10, yeah.
Hell yeah.
Awesome. Well, wait, guys, do you hear that?
What?
I don't know. I've been hearing faint whispers from the voice of my dead wife, Melissa.
Oh yeah, I do hear that sometimes.
I hope that doesn't turn into something.
That'd be weird.
We don't need another poltergeist. We've already had Kevin McClory.
And Pedro Armendáriz.
Oh no. What?
I'm very fun, but there's a lingering sadness within me.
I can see you doing the Nintendo DS in the parking garage right after.
But you're really crying.
But I'm a broken man.
Jan has heart. Oh no, my wife died. Anyway, time to podcast.
Anyway, tune in next week where we're going to talk about The World Is Not Enough. And there definitely won't be any ghosts in this.
No more poltergeists.
No more poltergeists. Anyway, goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya later.
Melissa, what the fuck are you doing here?